and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast brought to you by the Avenger Archive. My name is Ryan.
I'm Jason. I'm not Hunter.
You're not Hunter.
I'm not Hunter.
But we have never seen Jason and Hunter in the same room at the same time.
Yeah, so you know, we could be shapeshifters.
J and
you never know.
H, Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know. But less than an hour ago, I was on stream talking with Alex T of Blackoath Entertainment about Sacrifice, the Iron and Incense RPG, heavily inspired by Berserk. Rocking my God Hand shirt right now.
Yeah, I know you're a big Berserk fan.
I do enjoy Berserk. So we talked about that in the interview. We're going to be giving away the bundle from LFOSR of Sacrifice. But prior to all of that, should we do the giveaway after?
I don't know, man. You want to lead with a giveaway?
I don't know.
Or you think everyone? Are you guys out there going to leave if you just win? Is that why you're here?
Well, I think most of the people are on Twitter, so like I guess I'm just gonna have to DM them afterwards. Let's just do it.
Yeah, go check out the Twitter for the photo of the bundle too, if you want to see how awesome it is. There's a lot of cool stuff.
And I know Leo from LFOSR was just messaging me like I'm in the tracking tool that is in your town, and I'm like it's 10 o'clock in the morning. It's not gonna get here for like 3 hours, but like it'd be dope if it did arrive. I will crack one open and post pictures to Twitter. Once I get it, more pictures of it actually in my hands. But we'll get to that. Prior to all of that, I think let's do the review. Let's do the read through, the review, and then close with a giveaway, and then go from there. Let's do that. So chat, don't let me forget to do that. And for all of you listening in podcast land and on the YouTube, you missed it. Sorry. But maybe this won't be the last time. This is the second giveaway in 2 weeks. So maybe
this is how you get the podcast people to the live stream, right?
Yeah,
draw them in. See,
eventually you'll have to be present for it, and you have to listen to us ramble for 3 hours, and then you get to win the free stuff. But today, Sacrifice, Blackoath Entertainment, Incense and Iron. First of all, let's talk about Incense and Iron. Did you hear Alex talking about that? I know you were sleeping.
I was asleep, so I did not. So So
Incense and Iron is one of my favorite genres, and I'm glad that Alex gave it a name. It's basically like a world in which like the Christian Catholic Church or whatever is this like overarching presence that in all honesty is a little bit horror. It's like the Inquisition or the Church in Castlevania or the entirety of Blasphemous, which is like my favorite game ever. And I love that genre of just like the church is actually evil because I mean, let's be honest.
Because dot.
Yeah. All right. The Inquisition was the thing. It's just a great genre, and it's a great. There's so much that goes into that because people's like. I'm not a writer. It is hard to describe some of the things, but like the reverence that people have for their church, especially in the time period in which it was basically their entire existence. Like everything you did was for the church, dictated by the church. At least people at the time thought that their very souls were always in, peril or jeopardy because of this overarching, thing. It's just a really interesting world to play in because without really having to say much, there's literally hundreds of years of depth, that you kind of feel if you've read history at all. So it's a really, really interesting genre. And I, like I said in the interview, I really hope Incense and Iron kind of catches on as people write more in this kind of thing.
Yes. Well, reading through this, I definitely got the vibe. So success in that regard for sure.
There we go. So speaking of that, let's show the book. Let's get to the read through. Boom. Right there. Sacrifice, an Incense and Iron RPG from Blackoath Entertainment. First of all, the illustrations are gorgeous in this book.
Yeah, single artist, it looks like. So I think that's always a great thing. I'm a big fan of consistency in artwork in RPGs. So
yeah. It's great when I know a lot of indie RPGs, especially a lot of I guess kind of like the OSR, like any of these like hard Western ones or Western European ones, do a lot of public domain.
Yeah.
And
Which
a
is
lot of that
fine if you're
has
a great designer and you can make it work. Like Johan Nor does a lot of public,
yeah,
domain stuff, and it works.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, that if you just slap it together, it can be a little disconcerting. But some books like Cyst is a great one. Lords of Biokeep are they do a really good job of finding pieces that look really consistent and manipulating them just enough to do it. Or even Flayo. There was some variety in some of the art, but I think they did a good job of piecing it together so it looked really good. But
Yep.
this, as you said, single illustrator the whole way through really ties everything in really, really well. And as I said, they are saying the artist name is Orb. Here, Simone Temeta -ORB Orb is the author. And everything else is from Alex T from Blackoath Entertainment.
Well, we got the cartography too by Glenn Seal.
Glenn Seal, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
And Creative Commons Attribution 4.0. Give attribution, do whatever you want with it. Love that.
Yeah.
Built-in third-party license right there. But as we said before, I mean, this is basically the bones of this is D&D.
Yes.
Like I said, as soon as I started reading, I flipped all the way to the back just to see. And yes, that is the Open Gaming license in the back. Then I was like, okay, all right, cool. And this is the 1.0, like the 2000, like old license, not the more recent 5e license.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's not. Yeah, 2000 and 2003 SRD, as opposed to the later one. Regardless, let's go back to the beginning. We immediately go on to a table of contents, and you know what's great about the table of contents?
I know it's hyperlinked.
It's hyperlinked.
I see a little pointy hand over every single one. Yeah.
Honestly, if there's any creator that I know that listens to our show and comes on the show and we go over one of their games that's not hyperlinked, I'm gonna rage. I need to get we need to get some Weekly Scroll merch that has like hyperlinked question mark or something.
Yes, something. We'll figure it out.
Oh, you know what it is? I'll just put like the Weekly Scroll, but I'll put the hand icon from Adobe like it is right now of like when it's hyperlinked when it grows over it, and just like attach that on the writing for the Weekly Scroll so that the logo on the shirt is hyperlinked.
There you go.
Don't let me forget that. That's a good idea. All right, so going through this right off the bat, it's a pretty straightforward table of contents and like game structure, like book structure. You get the basics, the rules, the world, and the bestiary. I think we've gone over a bunch of games that are like that. I think even something like Red Giant has a similar layout. And a kind of a similar vibe to the game as well. This is how I would lay out a book too, so I really like how it's kind of broken into separate sections, especially because when you do something like this and have most of the world bits separate, it's really easy to skin this into a different game as opposed to having the world kind of built into the rules.
Yep.
And then having to pick parts out. So I really enjoy that.
I find that most games put the world first, so I like that it's last.
Yeah, I'm a fan of starting with the rules. I never remember which one I like better until I'm actually in it, whether it's like character creation before rules or rules before character creation. But I like this way, where they give you like the basics and then you get into the character creation rules so that you at least have an understanding of the system.
Yep.
And then get into the grittier parts of the system later. Because if you just start flat with character creation and like have no knowledge of how the game itself works.
I think it depends on the game. It's tricky, right? If it's a more crunchy game, then yeah, you're running the risk of having all this terminology. You're like, I don't know what any of this means. But other games, more rules light ones, it seems to work, right? Frontiers comes in a good example, I think, where character creation's first, and then you get into the combat and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit different because, like you just said, it's very rules light. The character creation is kind of the most complex part of it, and it's not really, and so much of it is narrative driven.
Yep.
That
roll table.
It's that I think it's a little bit different than, because you don't really need the rules as much.
No, I didn't find myself getting lost while reading through it in any kind of term. But again, it's based on, like you said, D&D, so then it's familiar.
Yeah, and and Alex said during the interview that that's one of the reasons he picked, kind of like base D&D as an option, because most people that have played an indie game before will know, D20, -3 to +3 with,
Yep.
18, 3d6, 6 stats, advantage, disadvantage. I mean, most people that have played RPGs for any period of time have played that RPG. Whatever it looks like, they played that one.
Exactly.
So going in, so let's start with the basics. And is this the illustration that's behind me? This is, oh man, an absolutely gorgeous illustration of this, I guess branded, swinging this massive sword through this demonic entity. And it's
severed its arm, one of its many arms or something, it looks like.
it definitely severed something. Yeah, it looks like this is the shoulder right here and the arm is just off. So, but they have a couple more. So I think it's probably still in the fight, but just a gorgeous, gorgeous illustration. Just a really nice, what's it called when it's like the layout of it, like how it's structured? What's the word?
Composition?
Composition, yeah. I love how like the wing coming from the top and the tail from the bottom almost creates like a frame around the knight.
Yeah, and it's got this the glowiness. I've noticed there's a little bit of a glowiness on everything. It reminded me of Luis Royo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he's an artist that did a lot of glowy kind of stuff. So I got a hint of that.
Definitely, like there's like this fog around it, but then like the light coming off that blade is fantastic. All right, so going into the basics, a lot of people, as you said, have played the standard D20 system before, so we don't need to really read through all of that. But we'll hit on the cores of it. What is Sacrifice? Sacrifice is a role-playing game based on the D20 system. This means it's compatible with most, if not all, other D20 retro clones and published material, new and old. In Sacrifice, you play as a character that has been marked for demonic sacrifice. Somehow, you escaped the sinister ritual alive, but you are now chased both by demons and the all-powerful Inquisition. I'll read this part too. As a branded, you are no ordinary mortal. You have escaped certain death, and while the forces of evil are powerful, as is the Holy Church and its Inquisition, so is your will to live. Your determination and resilience in the face of certain death set you apart from the common man. Nothing else. What some deem supernatural abilities, you know well, is just a combination of experience, determination, and sometimes pure luck. I know right off the bat, those two paragraphs, I went berserk. Like, got it.
Yeah.
I mean, even the idea of the branded, like clearly, like the brand is like the whole thing. And when you get to like why the brand works, like how like it like pulls undead towards you and like all this kind of stuff, and you can sense where they are. I mean, obviously, Alex said that he, after Mura died, he sat down and just cruised all of Berserk and was like, fuck, I have to make this a game. And here was Sacrifice. So,
I'm curious why that's not mentioned. Is it, you think, copyright maybe? Why, I was inspired by Berserk, or there's...
I don't know, because I guess it's a little different reading through the book, because I know on the Patreon there is a lot of things, like a lot of like the updates that talk about, there was a recent update about Incense and Iron, and like what is Incense and Iron, what was the inspiration behind it, and there's like a list of a ton of media about that. But as far as like actually being listed in the book, I guess there isn't anything that says specifically like this is the media inspired by.
I've really started loving that trend of film inspirations or game inspirations at the very beginning, so it gives you like a really solid picture in your mind if you're not familiar with the genre or something.
It what's the word I'm looking for? It's not wheelstone, touchstones. Yeah. Like things that are like, if you know this is it. And you're like, okay, yes, that is an experience that we've all had. I get it. This is an experience we know, sure. I get it. Alex is actually here in the chat with us, which is fantastic. So if we have questions,
hey,
we can talk to them. And he said, I could swear I did write somewhere it's inspired by Berserk. I'm sure if you did, we will find it as we read through this. But yeah, how does Sacrifice play? Sacrifice is best played. So this is interesting, and we talked about this a little bit in between the streams.
Yeah,
it's best played with a single player, and a GM. So you really are more like, you know, Guts, where it's like you versus the world. But it does say there's nothing stopping you from playing with a bunch of friends, but the game thrives when it's me versus the world, and this is best achieved when there's a single PC. So there's nothing in because obviously it's based on a D20 system, so you could easily have a party.
And it's emphasized later on too. There's always mentions of, hey, your party or your group or whatever it may be. So it's yeah. And I imagine a lot of people will play it that way because we were talking about earlier, but TTRPGs are very group centric experience for the most part, but I think it's cool to have this 1v1 aspect.
I actually had started separating in my collection a bunch of, obviously I have a lot of solo games, but I'm starting to get a decent number of 2-player games actually going. I think I have like a nice stack, because you can even play 12 Years as a 2-player game. That's kind of like either collaborative or cooperative or competitive and or both at the same time. And then this would be a good one. And there's another one. What's it actually called? Like something of the Spider Queen, something like that. It's a 2-player game. It's like 1 player with like a GM guiding them through. And I think that'd be really fun. I feel like, especially for this, podcast setting that we do things in, like either you and me or me and Hunter.
Until we get more players on the Adventure Archive, maybe that's what we need to lean into that, right?
Maybe, we'll have to have just like 2-player games. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, if you couldn't tell, I did chug a Red Bull before the stream started, so you're in for a treat. You're welcome. So how does the game play? It's like that. When a PC tries to do something, you roll a d20, you add your modifiers, you do all that kind of stuff. You've played a d20 game before. If you're listening to this, critical, you have not played a d20 game, period. There's skills, there's DCs, easy 5, hard 20, impossible 30. Like you just said, advantage, disadvantage. You roll 2d20, take the highest, take the lowest.
But there are some cool crit success tables we'll get to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So what I do enjoy about this game, and as we read through, we'll see it more. This is the bare bones of the system, but there's a lot of really cool stuff built on the bones. Yeah, we'll keep going. But critical failure and success, like I said, rolling a 1, you fail. Rolling a 20, you succeed. On the hand, rolling a 20 grants a critical success. The best possible result takes place. Combat-specific consequences are detailed. So I'm curious, though. I don't think it specifically says it, if I'm reading this correctly. It says the best possible result takes place. So I guess that does say it. If you roll a nat 20 plus modifier, and that's like a 24, do you succeed on a 25 or 30 check? As a nat 20, do you automatically succeed even on a roll of 30 if you get a nat 20 just because it was a nat 20, even if your modifiers don't get you that high? That's what I'm curious about, because as far as I'm concerned, so Alex says yes. Alex says yes. In my D20 games, a nat 20 does not mean an automatic success. It is just a really good roll, and if you have a nat 20 plus 4 and the roll is a 25, you did damn good, but you didn't succeed. But in this, you do. Opposed checks, which is another thing that exists in games like this. When 2 characters take actions and have opposing purposes, they can roll against each other. The PC with the highest rolls wins. Ties are awarded to the highest ability score. And then you can assist, basically, if you are undistracted and are able to. You basically just give someone advantage, which is cool. So that is the core of the game, which at its core is the D20 system, which at its core is D&D, at least older school D&D. And damn, if D&D was still just that, I would love it, but it's not. One D&D, everybody.
Well, that's why there's OSC and all these other games coming out. Just because people want to go back to the good days.
I really want to go back and not even play like AD&D. Like I want to go all the way back and play like basic.
Yeah.
And you know what I didn't know for a while? Like, I've known for a while now, but what I didn't know is that even when AD&D came out, there was still a basic line continuing for years. There was other editions of just basic. I was not aware either. So basic is still a thing. Yeah. So characters, warfare. Oh, interesting. So characters, warfare, pain, and faith. In Aresta, we stand. Aresta, Aresta, is capitalized. This is a place, so the people know. So warfare, pain, and faith. In Aresta, we stand. For the last rite of heaven, the seventh sacrament, born of blood and fire, and blessed by dawn's hand. No sorrow, I repent. No doubt enters my heart. Inquisitorial oath. So that a little bit of world building right there at the beginning of the character setting. I love it like that. I love the way that this is laid out. Again, the rules feel separate, but there's little bits tossed in that give you a little bit of world building. But if you did want to pull this into something else, it's not so ingrained that you couldn't, which is really, really nice.
Yep. It just reinforces the tone throughout. Yeah.
Yeah.
In case you forget.
In case you forget that you're playing in a dark, terrible world, here's a reminder.
Here's a random question for you. What do you think about the 2-column layout?
I mean, for this and this style, I don't mind it. I didn't really notice.
Do you recognize the inspiration? Which I'm gonna throw a guess out here.
Oh, a 2-column layout?
Yeah. And a narrow format. No, usually D&D is like a wider, but like this is very biblical. This is how a Bible is laid out. 2 columns.
That is true.
On a narrow. The only reason I bring it up is because it's a smaller format, whereas like D&D has like a massive, it's like a big ass book, and that was kind of ass book, yes.
But I mean, D&D is still a 2-column book.
What do you mean, like 5e?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, but we're dealing with a larger book. This is a smaller format.
Oh, you're saying in a smaller book with the 2 columns.
It kind of caught me. It kind of caught me off guard reading
biblical. It is, and
I was
biblical,
like, oh, I'm thinking it's the biblical vibe we're getting here. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to get a like the cult Bible version.
He says it's not intentional. Okay, never mind.
Hey, listen,
I got it.
Yes, it is. It is. It's incense and iron. So getting a Bible version, like after he creates like 10 expansions the next like 2 months, and it's 1,000 pages long, we'll get like I said, like you got me that the cult's Bible version.
Bible version, which is awesome. Yeah.
And it's awesome. That would be dope to have like a little Bible version with those like nice thin pages, gilding. Yeah, that'd be dope. So in Sacrifice, each player controls a single player. Obviously, there's a GM. Begin by taking a new character sheet.
The back
there
of
is
the book,
some, there is a little bit of wordiness to some of this that I think could be taken out, but I think this is that debate. I think that kind of went around Twitter a little bit before, and I still debate. It's like, do you write a game for people that have never played a game before, or do you just write the game? And I think this book is written in such a way that you've never picked up a game before. You could pick this up and learn how to play the game, which is fine. It's a choice. I think most games really do that, of like, this is what a role-playing game is, and this is like the core of the game.
Yeah, I'd say too, I would think of it from like a marketing standpoint. I feel like somebody playing this game has probably played a ttrpg, right? They're not picking this up at Barnes and Noble or something,
I don't know. And I read Berserk. I'm on my first, I think I would say that 90+% of at least the GMs running this game, as we said in the beginning, everyone that picked this up would have played a D20 system before.
Yeah.
But completely understandable as far as wanting to write it so it's very approachable regardless of the level of experience. It's just one of those things where it's like, for people that have read a bunch of games, it's like, we know. But again, totally understandable. So get a character sheet, roll. You get 6 stats. Again, it's D&D. It's D20. Roll 3d6 for all of them, and it's the standard 6: strength, intelligence, wisdom, dex, con, and charisma. And I love this. In Sacrifice, all characters are human. Don't pick a race. Don't fuck with it. I love that. I think every game I ever write, if I ever actually ever put one out, not even going to mention race, because it's just like, I'm so glad that you don't have to worry about racial feats and all the rest of this other thing, because come on. It's just an unnecessary.
I agree.
It doesn't need, like, people, no matter what your intention is, will make it a thing, whether it's a thing or not. And not saying that they shouldn't in some cases, because let's be honest, 5e has really dropped the ball a number of times with all of that. It's just that, no, regardless of your intentions, like it would be incredibly difficult to write anything where the word race comes in, where at the very least it won't become a topic of discussion, and I'd rather just not have the discussion.
Yep.
You know, let's let people just play the game. And then
Classless
there are no what's up?
Classless.
Oh, yeah. Much like us.
I yeah, exactly. I'm coming to love a classless system where your characters are defined by their experiences and their abilities rather than, you know, a profession. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, as we did in Frontier Scum, I mean, the way that Carl Druid wrote up your skills as literally basically memories is such a cool way to do it. And I really like the way this does it. And Alex said in the expansion of this, there's a lot more weapon stuff. When we get to the weapons, there's a really cool thing that I think contributes to this. And his next game, he said, is really focused on more like advancing your weapon skill trees and things like that, which is really cool. So yeah, there are no character sheets. Instead, you start by choosing 3 feats from all the available ones. This allows you to customize your character's starting gameplay style. You must also pick 2 weapons and 1 armor proficiency. 2 weapon and 1 armor proficiencies, and a combat maneuver. As a branded, you start the game at level 3. This reflects your character's years of experience before their current ordeal. That is one where I was like, why?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's trying to cement in the fact that this is not where your story begins, right? Mm-hmm. It's some things have already happened to you, but
I like that, but I think also, I mean, I think the game goes to like 12th level. I think you could also just go to 9th level and just start level 1 at what level 3 is. But Alex said because other starting occupations start at other levels, commoners starting at level 1. Okay, well, there we go. That makes sense. So you do, I mean, and let's be honest, every time I've ever played a D20 system after my very first campaign, every character started at 3 or 5 anyway. So this is basically built in, just skip the shitty ones and just go straight to level 3. So that makes sense. That's reasonable. Commoner start at level 1, Knight Errant start at level 2, and Branded start at level 3.
Exactly, because if you look at the experience table on page 12, you see a level 1 starter.
Yeah. Well, then there we go. That answers our question. And this is why it's great to have the creator in the chat. Thank you so much, Alex. Last but not least, add the finishing touches, overall appearance, gender, quirks, all of that kind of stuff to really make your character. There's no alignment rules in Sacrifice, only shades of gray, which, I mean, obviously, like, it's, you've been branded by demons and are running from demons and the church.
There's corruption, which we'll get to, which doing good deeds can help. Anyway, we'll talk about it when we get there.
As a new character, you start with 100 silver pieces to spend on any gear found in the equipment section. I love a silver standard. Fuck gold. Just throwing that out there. I think that it's a lot easier to keep the economy balanced in a system built on silver than gold. So silver standard's what's up. And just in general, I love this page. Like, I know that I was saying that, like, when you write a game for people that have never read a game before or whatever, but this whole, it's just one page that walks you through how to make a character, like, and then you actually go through and make a character. I really like reading this whole page first, getting an understanding of the entirety of how the character is built before you go in. It's the same thing I said before about, like, trying to do character creation before you read the rules. It's like, well, I don't really understand how the play goes, so, like, how can I really make the character? I like that this page gives you beginning to end of how it works, and then you actually do it. I enjoy this page. So going into abilities, do you wanna go through some abilities?
Yeah, these are just the standard ability scores again. So they are the foundations of every character, and they only change under very specific circumstances. Uh, like Ryan said, with character creation, you roll 3d6 six times, once per character ability, and then you assign each one of those results. And down below, we have a chart. We have an ability score with a modifier. It's a very familiar table we're all used to. It just starts at 3, goes to 18 plus, and then has the modifier on the right side, -3 to +3. And then it outlines all the ones we know, the 6: strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma, and gives a little description of what it means. Which brings us to skills, feats, and more.
Yeah. One thing I like about the layout in general is even just this polearm here, this halberd, is enough
Taking
to
up
kill
the negative space.
Dude.
Yeah.
Like anytime I see a book that's got a paragraph worth of like dead space at the bottom, I'm like, you literally could have just thrown even a texture, a splatter or something in there. I love that even just skinny little tall piece of art completely takes that away and really helps settle settle out onto the page.
Definitely. Why not use the space? And then we are moving on to skills, feats, and more. So as we mentioned above, there are no character classes in Sacrifice. Instead, what defines your character is the collective collection of skills, feats, and other unique capabilities they possess. So you are branded again, meaning you have survived something that seemed impossible. And then we have choose one of the following. So Titanic Strength, which is a +2 to strength. Lightning Reflex is a +2 to dexterity. Unbreakable Will, +2 to wisdom. Boundless Vitality, +2 to constitution. There are a few other details that mark you as a special individual, a veteran of 1,000 horrors. You also bear this mark. It's a capital M mark. The mark of sacrifice is a terrible scar that has marked you, both your flesh and your soul. It appears as a firebrand. But then also, when you are in proximity of demonic forces, specifically 30 feet, the mark of sacrifice burns as if it were just carved under your skin, causing 1 HP of damage. So that's cool. It alerts you of what's after you, but then it causes you pain. Yeah, it's cool. Then I'm not done yet is a section. When your character reaches 0 HP, you perform a con saving throw to avoid becoming unconscious. If you pass, you can sacrifice 1 con to gain D4 HP and miraculously stand up again, but only once per round of combat. And then there's luck. You can spend that automatically to pass a saving throw. But it must be declared before rolling, so you cannot know the result, which I'm a fan of that. Luck can also be used to retreat from combat. If the whole party wants to retreat from combat, again, we talked about this being a player versus, or not versus, but player and GM, but you can see that the copy's starting to reinforce party play too. They must each spend 1 luck. This means that incapacitated allies can be dragged away by surviving ones. Luck is recovered at a rate of 1 per resting day. Character's luck is equal to half their level. Then finally, we have a mastery die. Each time your character is involved in combat with opponents with a number of hit dice, HD abbreviated, lower than their level, you can use the mastery die. And your turn automatically deal D4 damage to any opponent within range. This represents passing blows and lesser strikes that the character deals to those around them without much of a thought due to their mastery of combat. So we got some cool little extras here already popping up.
Yeah. So obviously the branded is amazing and obviously very clearly berserk. I mean, you can see it in the manga and the anime where like it starts to burn and the skeletons pop up and he like chops them all down. I love that.
Yep.
The mastery dice is really, really interesting. When I first read it, I was like, I don't know. And then just like trying to picture like again, almost in the anime, like I guess basically it's saying that if you're fighting a bunch of like low level things,
right,
it's not just every hit you do, but it's like every flourish hit something, every front swing and back swing kind of hit something. And I dig it for low level enemies as a way, especially in the context of the fact that you are, if you play it as written, alone. So if you're fighting a bunch of low-level enemies, this kind of gives you that little bit of extra help to keep right around you cleared. So it's really interesting.
I think it really demonstrates the vibe too, right? It helps the player understand what they are as branded, I think.
Yeah, bad. I mean, throw in also the Titanic strength and lightning
Yeah,
reflexes and
exactly.
boundless vitality. It's cool.
So
Like you
yeah,
said, I
that
think the constant
yeah.
reinforcement of tone and vibe is done really really well in this.
Yeah, and really these Titanic strength, et cetera, those are starting to, you can see, you can define a quote unquote class because they're all, one is strength, one is dex, one is wisdom, one is con. So you can kind of choose and start guiding your character creation at this point. But then on the next page, we have character advancement. So this is an XP table starting at level 1, going all the way to 12. And it's outlining not only the amount of XP you need to achieve each level, but also your accumulated hit points, as well as other benefits in the fourth column, like feats, skill points, combat maneuvers, et cetera, et cetera.
Man, those stack up, huh?
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, that's the first thing I noticed on this page was fuck. Like, if you actually get to 12th level, you have so many feats.
1,000,000 XP.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And
So
calculating XP, I've
12,
noticed.
15. 15
Yeah,
feats. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's crazy. But and then calculating XP in this it's not hand wavy, like there's a very like meticulous sort of way
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it. So
Well,
um
one of the things that Alex said in the interview is that he loves Crunch, and that Rollmaster
yeah,
was
okay,
one
I
of their
can
favorite
see.
games. And I was like, I can tell. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, crunchy.
yeah. I don't
So
think
then that
too crunchy though. I don't think too crunchy. I think it's
no,
right
no, no,
on
no,
the
no. Yeah.
cusp of um. I
Well,
I think it's right on the
it's a
cusp.
40-page rule set, so that
Hmm.
should tell you right there. It's not super crunchy.
Well, I mean, here's the thing though. Just because a book is long doesn't mean it's crunchy, and just because a book is short doesn't mean it's not crunchy.
Sure.
Because I mean, Flayo is a longer book and has a lot more rules, but doesn't feel crunchy because each individual rule is really simple. Um, but uh,
Let's
but
just say
yeah,
the
I
rules
agree with
don't.
you.
There's not like a one pager for this.
No, 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 no. I would not call this rules light by any stretch of
No,
the
no, no,
imagination, though,
no.
either. Yeah.
Which it doesn't claim to be. So
No, it doesn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that brings us to skills. So all characters possess a set of skills that are modified by their ability scores. As a new character, you can increase 3 different skills by +1. So this again will be very familiar to anyone who's played D&D. So we have acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, culture, deception. Heretical knowledge, though, to me is very unique to the setting. So you can see some of the
Mm.
setting kind of creeping into this stuff. History, insight, investigation, manipulation, medicine, nature, perception, performance, religion. This is all very
Mm.
you guys have heard this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the
Yeah,
podcast.
I think there's only, I think maybe three that are a little bit different than like standard like 5e or D&D. I think that culture is a really fun one that I think would be great to just add into some more D&D games. Basically, it's an int check to allow you to learn the local customs laws and like etiquette, which I think is a really really cool way to have like especially like a multicultural world. Heretical knowledge, like you said, is really
Yep.
fucking cool. There are things lurking in
Manipulation's
the
cool
darkest
too.
foul. Yeah. Yeah, and that was the other one, manipulation. I like
Mhm.
that much better than intimidation, or at least in addition to, because for a lot of people I know that I allow intimidation to be rolled with strength, because a lot of people that want to be intimidating and say, well, I'm a giant barbarian,
Mhm.
charisma's my dump stat, why is that intimidation? But
Right.
manipulation I think is a much better thing than even like, I mean, deception's an option, but like when the thief is trying to like trick somebody, like deception, intimidation, like there's like a middle ground that I think manipulation really really works well on.
Yeah, for sure. And then after all of these, we are brought to proficiencies. So a character that is proficient in a skill has advantage on checks involving that skill. So when it comes to weapons and armor, proficiency works a bit differently, though. A character without the correct weapon proficiency has disadvantage when wielding it, while a character without the correct armor proficiency has disadvantage on all dex and athletics checks while wearing it. So when you're a newly created character, you begin the game with 2 weapon proficiencies and 1 armor proficiency. So this is cool because it's not like a class, right? A class of weapons. It's specific ones that you're going to be using. And then feats. A feat is a skill or field of knowledge that grants a character extraordinary abilities. It encapsulates education, experience, and skill in one specific area of expertise. And at level 3, new characters, you start with 3 feats of their choosing. So this is where there's quite a bit of a unique stuff. I mean, there's some familiar stuff in here like disengage and so on and so forth, but you have like a Kalian war dancer, which is setting specific, I believe. Add your wisdom modifier to your AC when unarmored. There's backstab, brawler, capable. And capable is you gain proficiency with a weapon, armor, or skill of your choosing. Okay. Colossal wielder, combat prosthetic, corporeal purity, crossbow mastery, dauntless, demon slayer, disengage. So you can see more of the flavor being injected into the game. Are there any here that stood out to you as being your favorites?
Really interesting ones I liked a lot were, like you said, the setting specific ones. Like corporeal purity is a really, really cool one. When subject to the effects of poison or disease, perform a wisdom ability check to negate it, which is cool. But Demon Slayer and Inquisitorial Fury, I really liked that one just because of what it is. Basically, a human target is affected by fear if you perform a successful manipulation check. And I love that that is tied to the Inquisition.
Yeah,
it's such like a subtle dig while being a mechanic that I really, really like that a lot.
Yeah, and how about combat prosthetic? I mean, after losing a limb, which is something that will happen in this game, you can replace it with a combat prosthetic. Once per day, you unleash a blast attack with it. It deals 3d10 damage. You must spend 10 silver pieces in materials to recharge. That's cool. It's like it's not just a cooldown. It's like you gotta pay.
You gotta spend money, yeah. But I mean, I like when I read that first, I was like, oh yeah, Guts. I mean, Guts literally gets his arm bitten. Spoiler alert. Guts gets his arm bitten off and has like a fake like prosthetic arm the whole time. That's like a crossbow and stuff too. So I really love that. But Colossus wield, Colossal. So there's a ton of them. They're fucking cool guys.
Sword, yeah.
I mean, again, berserk all day. But the way that I love the way that mechanically it makes sense. Choose a two-handed weapon. You can carry an enormous version of it that deals +2 damage and ignores 2 points of AC. I love that. The ignore the AC part. You must have a strength 16 plus. Talk to your GM to learn how you found it. I really, really like that a lot. Like, I mean, you literally could just make Guts with Colossal Wielder, Combat Prosthetic, Demon Slayer, and there you go.
Well, I love the talk to your GM about to learn how you found such a weapon, meaning more backstory, more narrative building there. So.
Oh, there's a whole other page.
There's a lot more. There's a whole other page full of Iron Will, Lucky Fall, Marksman. Yeah, I mean, so many. Will
of God. Yeah. What I like about him too, because I've had a chance to read through all of them, is, I mean, how many are there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. There's like 40, 45 different ones. Like, they're all good. Like, you know, I've read some before where it's like you come up with a big list and like, I don't know, half of them are really good and you can tell that they like, you know, we're trying to figure stuff out. I feel like for the most part, like every one of these is viable depending on how you want your character to be. And that's really cool to see this many options. And like I said, all of them be viable, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Which brings us, do you want to do combat maneuvers?
I'll take all right, combat maneuvers. These are fun. So combat maneuvers, as trained inquisitors and experts in all types of combat, characters master several unique fighting techniques that set them apart from other regular combatants in Nea. These techniques are known as combat maneuvers, and as level 3 characters and NPCs begin the game knowing one, and you choose among them. And I like how you use the combat maneuvers too, which is fun. In order to be able to use a combat maneuver, a character must spend stamina. At the beginning of each combat, a character must roll d8 plus level to determine the amount of stamina they have available for that combat. Once a combat is over, all remaining stamina is lost. So every time you go into combat, you roll to see what your stamina pool is. Which is really interesting. It also gives me a little bit of like a Dark Souls vibe, kind of, with like your stamina bar, which is cool.
And it looks like the math works out to be you'll always be able to do at least at once, right? Because we have The
Yep.
cost is 4, meaning you're starting
Yep.
at level 3 plus a D8, which could be the worst one.
Yeah, you can always well
Oh no,
for
there's
the bulk of
5.
them. Yeah, for
Yeah,
the bulk of them, there's a couple that are 5, like confusing parry, create opening, but
yeah,
like it looks like the standard for a lot of them is 4, with like a couple 8s, a couple 5s, like a 6, and then actually a couple of 2s. Far shot, your range weapon attack range is increased by 30.
yeah.
Were there any in here that you really liked a lot?
Let me see. Oh, this one made me laugh. The Combat Thief, just because
Oh, yeah.
I pictured it in my head. Playing a rogue way back, but after a human opponent misses their attack against you, you can pick their pockets if you pass a sleight of hand check. This is not kind of that cracks me up. Somebody like swinging a sword and you're like almost freezing time in a way to like take their stuff out. Yeah,
Dude,
so it was cool.
that's exactly the vision popped in my head. If someone swings the sword and someone just comes in and like plucks it out, it's like ha ha ha, while it's like
Yeah,
slowly going and then like tucks it away and like is back into combat now. Like
yeah,
definitely felt
yeah.
like cool, but like what jumped into my head was like cartooniness, and I can't imagine playing the game and not getting a laugh when someone's like, I use my combat thief ability. Like
Yeah, well,
so
I mean, it just again, it's not all of these have to be, hey, you get an awesome attack, right? It's like,
yeah.
oh,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
a secondary thing, which is great.
But the other thing with combat thief too is like, say for example there's like an archer or like someone throwing daggers or something like that, you can take those from them without spending
Hmm.
an action. You could
Yeah.
literally just be like, oh, you have another dagger? No, you fucking don't. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you have a bomb, you have like a bomb on your belt? No, you don't. You know. So it's cool.
There's a lot of cool mounted ones too. There's mounted charge. There's
Yeah.
trample, right? So while on a mount charge against a group of enemies at half the mount speed, creatures in your path receive 2d8 bludgeoning damage. So it's kind of
Yeah.
neat to see that mounts are brought into this, not just I mean I haven't read that, I haven't seen things like that often, where
Mm.
you have to have this accessory, so to speak, like a horse or something, to have this ability, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, there's just a lot of, again, there's a ton of these. And considering this is basically the core way that you level, um, like there has to be a bunch of them. You know what I mean? You have to have like a wide variety for customization. But again, there's 2, 4,
Yep.
6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, again, like 25 of these too. So that's great. And then the next thing, I really love this. It's called a weapon marked by darkness.
I knew you
And
would.
then, oh, fuck
It's
yeah.
it's cool. It's cool. I
It's
like it.
cool. And then Alex actually said like there's about a 40-page expansion that's already like ready to go basically. That oh, and apparently more feats and maneuvers coming. That
Sweet.
expands on this weapon marked by darkness a little bit more. So what that is when the same weapon has been used in countless battles against creatures from beyond the realm of man. Subtle spiritual energies cling to it and slowly change it, improving it. Each time a weapon has been used to kill an unnatural creature, i.e., not human or beast, a fragment, bolded, of its soul is imbued within it. Once a weapon has absorbed 100 fragments, it grants +1 to all attacks and damage done while wielding it. One of the character's starting weapons starts with d20 fragments. That's fucking cool.
That's cool, man. Because it just again, it's telling you, hey, fight monsters, right?
Yes.
So
This game does not give you. There is no question what the point of this game is.
right.
Kill dark shit. Like
Yep.
that is this game. When the entirety of character creation is basically, here's some shit to attack stuff, here's some shit to like make your attack stuff better, like here's all your attacking, and not only that, even your weapon, you have to count how many things you killed so it gets better. Like it definitely, again, no question of what this game is. But also I think it's really indicative of the creator. If you've read like Disciples of Bone and Shadow, and as we talked before, like Alex loves crunch. The fact that I have to count every kill to remember it, because if you remember when we played Dark Kingdoms, Sam's character, for reasons known to her character, she had to collect trophies from every kill. The number of times she forgot was
Yeah.
probably equal to the number of times she remembered.
Yeah.
So it would be really curious to be like, we're like a half a session later and be like, oh shit, I didn't count how many skeletons again. And it's like, do you like with the trophies? I was like, sucks to suck, you forgot. Well, like this is just a count of the ones you
Right.
did kill. So I think that's a little bit different. But it is like, I think it is, like I said, it's very characteristic of Alex's style to make you count 100 bad guys before you get to level up. So it's cool. I like it. And then we're moving into, I guess, just another little section of stuff. So starting hit points. At first level, character has 8 HP. As level 3 characters, PCs begin the game with 2d8 plus 8 HP plus their con modifier. And then your AC, standard D&D, is 10 plus dex plus armor. And initiative, a character's initiative is equal to the dex score.
That was a little confusing though, because when it says a first level character has 8 HP, meaning, but then I'm thinking, wait, I start at 3. Like, why was that? So that just kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop. But
well, I think I think what they said before was like with Commoner and Knight Errant and stuff like that. I think a little bit. It would help a little bit saying you start at 3 if there was a little thing in there that did say, there are other classes like commoners and errands at 1, 2.
Right.
That would give a little bit of context.
Because
so I
to
think
me,
that
it's
would
like
help,
you
a
are
tiny bit.
branded, right? This is when you play this game, you are branded, and so that kind of threw me off.
But I think people will have the same question that I asked, that we both had, was just like, why start at 3? Because there's not really anything that says you're starting at 3 because. Like there's a little narrative bit that says like it talks about your past experiences, but mechanically it's like because there are level 1 and level 2 characters, you're just cooler. Oh, and Alex said the other occupations were something he came up with after finishing the game. There we go. So maybe in 2E we'll have a little bit more clarification for that. And do you want to hit the finishing touches?
Yeah. So finishing touches. This is probably my favorite part, I think, of the character creation process. So the only thing left now is to determine some basic personality traits and other similar elements that will help you better role play your character, and make sure you pick an overall appearance, gender, age, etc. Anything you want to add. As inspiration, feel free to roll on the following tables to learn more about who they are. A GM might also want to use the following tables to quickly create some interesting NPCs. So the first one we have is character flaw. It's a D10. Arrogance, drunkenness. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We should do. Why don't you roll while I read it? See what you get. What's your flaw?
All right. 1d10. 5.
5. So you are a sloth.
Just like real life.
I know, right? So then we move on to desperate, broken, hunted. So your character was once one of the church's most holy agents and inquisitor. You were betrayed and captured by cultists, or maybe it was a close friend who sold their soul and yours in exchange for demonhood. Somehow you escaped the sacrificial ritual with your life, if not your mind. You are now forever haunted, not only by the foul demonic creatures beyond this world, but by those who fought by your side, holy warriors, demon hunters, and so on. You have no master but yourself, and you travel the war-torn land, doing what you've always done: hunt evil and its miasmic corruption, and take down those who work against you. So we have a D8 table to the right of that. Why did you join the Inquisition, Ryan? Let's find out.
A 1.
Recruited as an orphan. So you were just doomed from the beginning, I guess.
I was doomed. What are some other I love number 4 is dope. Your parents were burned at the stake and you wanted to understand why.
Yeah, that's a huge hook, right? Huge adventure hook.
I love 8 though. Like you want to destroy the organization from within.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
A lot of cool stuff. Moving on to the next page. Oh, go ahead. What's up?
Oh, no. I love these. Like you said, I love these tables. These are such a great way to build the setting in. And what's cool too is like if you want to reskin the game that's just kind of reskin D&D, this is a really easy way to set it into different settings and stuff like that, is to just have different tables here at the end, and you could completely reskin this into, Berserk in space if you wanted,
Exactly. All right. So next up, we have another page of tables. So Ryan,
Oh,
tell
we're not.
me
Oh,
what.
I was gonna say. Ooh, I thought you were gonna skip past those, and I was like, we gotta
No,
do all
no,
the
no, no,
tables.
no. We're doing this. What became your
All right.
greatest achievement as an Inquisitor, Ryan?
I got a
One or
4.
a D8, a four. So you brought reason to a witch. Wait, am I reading? Oh, I'm reading the wrong one. I know I am. You. That was kind of hard with the layout. You brought reason to a witch hunt and avoided the death of an innocent. Okay. So you did some good deeds there, I guess. But who betrayed
Burn the
you though?
witch.
Who betrayed you?
Oh, another D8. Let's see.
Another D8.
Number 1 again.
A loved one. Oh, what a tragic tale. That's too bad. But anyway,
For this,
next, what's up?
she was for the streets.
You were an orphan. Yeah, I mean, you're you're
Yep.
you're not looking so hot right now.
All these
You're
people are just abandoning me and betraying me. Of course, I'm with the Inquisition. What are you talking?
So next comes up is the brand, right? The brand that you are marked with, and there's an illustration off to the right hand
Oh,
side
wait,
of
wait, wait.
an
Why
actual
is the
brand.
Inquisition hunting me? We skipped that one at the
Oh yeah,
top.
yes. I thought that was the next column.
I picked a
But yeah.
6.
So you relinquished your duties as an inquisitor. Okay, so I'm out of here.
Deuces.
But
All
anyway,
right.
moving on to the brand. Like I said, there's an illustration in the bottom right hand corner, second column. So, as you began to understand the depth of your despair, the sharp pain of the brand of sacrifice struck you. Its pain never really disappeared since that day, only faded, a throbbing wound that constantly reminds you of the terrors unleashed upon this world. The demonic brand, capital brand, of sacrifice, capital sacrifice, the game, marks you as prey for all that is evil in the world and you. And as such, you are tormented and persecuted. So, but it also allows you to walk in the liminal space between worlds. This is precisely how you awaken the spirits. You are a beacon of pulsating red light in their world of darkness. This allows you to tap into a well of energy that gives you almost superhuman abilities. After all, no normal human can fend off hordes of creatures all by themselves. With the brand, capital B, you sense the supernatural, break barriers, and walk freely among the worlds of mankind, gods and demons. So, Brian, where is your brand? I'm hoping it's on
Let's
your
see.
buttocks, but let's see what you
Is I
roll.
get a buttocks? I'm gonna roll an 11, and you know what that means. A 6.
Six. Oh, it's on your
Basic ass
chest.
brand.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, right. There you go.
Gotta get that
That's the
face
front.
brand. Just get a
No,
couple
no.
tears branded right to my face. All right.
But yeah, this brand, it never heals, nor does it go away when in proximity to demonic forces. We talked about this earlier. Radius of 30 feet. The mark of sacrifice burns if it was just carved and you lose 1 HP of damage. But it has benefits. After focusing for a few moments, you know the distance and direction towards the demon or demons. You can't hide, but neither can they. Can them? Probably should they. Perhaps the
Agree.
most dangerous side effect of the brand is its power to attract the spirits of the dead, hungry to feed, and live even for just a brief moment. The dead swarm around you, attempting to take control of your body. Certain places, graveyards, forgotten battlefields, tombs, other locations that have seen many people die, can cause the dead to swarm you. When you find yourself in such places, you must perform a wisdom ability check. Failing means the dead take over your body for a number of hours. This is awesome. To to 10 minus your wisdom modifier once you regain control. Things are usually not great. So, what happened to you, Ryan, when the dead took over?
I rolled a 3.
You spent all your money at the nearest brothel. Well, I mean, you were betrayed by your loved one. Like this
Exactly.
is this is this is this is working out. This is going to be a.
Gotta drown, and I'm gonna keep it PG on
I
the
just
stream.
feel like with rolling the brothel, you need to roll an 11 on where your brand was placed, but
Well, I
unfortunately,
mean, it burns there anyway, I guess. So,
yeah, there you go. You have two brands.
yeah.
So wounds and scars, right? This would be, I mean, it's got to be in here. So your character did not escape unscathed, of course. First roll on the wound table to learn the nature of your wound. Um, so let's roll on a D10 and see where, and then we're going to roll on the body part table to learn where the wound is.
Another 1.
Okay, so it's missing. Does that did not escape us?
First, roll on the wound table to learn the nature of your wound, and then roll on the body part. Oh, some body part is just missing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go.
My bowels. Please don't roll an 8.
Your groin? Is your groin missing? Did you get a 1?
No, I said don't roll an 8, and then I roll an 8.
Oh.
So my bowels are just missing.
Okay. I was thinking it was going to be groin because...
No, it's obviously there because I went to the brothel.
It's a tragic story. Like, you see what I mean?
The whole way through the roll tables.
Yeah, we're getting...
But my bowels are just missing. So basically, I just have to constantly be eating because I gain no sustenance because like my small bowel is just gone.
Yeah.
So
absorbing no nutrients.
That's fun.
And then finally, we have a name. I thought it would have been cool to have a roll table here, like we see a lot of times, but instead we have a list of names. So we have common Bavarian names: Lena, Adamar, Jane, Seeger, and so on and so forth. Surnames: common Cadenorian. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Names, and then common Cadenorian surnames. So those are relating to the setting.
Let me, I'm just gonna roll, I'm gonna roll a 1 and a 2. I'm gonna roll a D2. That's a 1, so it's Bavarian. And then I'm gonna pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like a D20. I'm gonna roll 2 D20. Let's see what I get. I got a 3 and a 4. So, it is Jahan, 1, 2, 3, Lutzen.
Jahan Lutzen. Bowelless Jahan Lutzen.
That's me.
All right, well, that brings us to gear. Do you want to take gear?
Sure. So we got the old coinage. Although gold coins exist, they're usually reserved for the type of transactions 99% of the population don't do. They are the currency of the rich and noble. Again, standard prices are given in silver pieces. I love a good silver standard. This goes all the way from gold crowns to brass pieces, even less than copper pieces. So you got brass, copper, silver, and gold. Coins vary from land to land, but the value of each individual coin remains essentially the same.
How do you feel about money? I think you talked about earlier you like the silver standard. Yeah, it's super granular, and I get that's realistic, but in practice, it seems like money is just kind of, simple standard.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what exists, and it's good for world building and stuff like that, especially if you use different ones in different times. But like, I think that if I had to pick something that I would purge from every game ever, it would be a list of things and how much they cost.
Yep, I agree.
I just so much of it, because I'll go to D&D, right, and I'll look at their list of stuff, and a shovel is like 3 gold. And I'm like, when you really calculate, like, I've looked at it and I've actually mathed out how much, like, what D&D kind of adds up to money wise. A gold piece is basically $100.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why a shovel is like 2 gold. And it's like, you're selling me a $200 shovel.
That's a hell of a shovel.
But then like a backpack or something will be like 10 silver. And I'm like clearly people are just pulling numbers out of their ass.
Yeah.
But it's just again, I totally get it. I totally get why it's in this game, because it adds a layer of crunch, which, as we talked about, creator's a big fan of the crunch. But a roundabout way to answer your question, realistically, in Dark Kingdoms, how much did you guys had so much fucking money?
Yeah,
and so many gems.
With D&D specifically, you generally, like all video games out there, you generally find better stuff than you're going to buy. Mm-hmm. So in a low fantasy game where, money is scarce and stuff, maybe it makes more sense to have like an economy like this. But yeah, but D&D, yeah, we just walked around with, like you said, tons of gems, tons of gold pieces.
You literally got to a point where like you were just like passing out like gems worth hundreds of gold, because you're just like, here's a tip. Like when you
Yeah.
guys were in the town outside of that, like the barracks or castle, whatever. Literally, he's like, "Give me a bunch of gems. Here you go." And it was just like chucking them at people. So
Yeah.
I mean, again, it makes sense. I like that it adds a little bit of flavor. I like that it talks about the Bavarian Silver Phoenix versus the Catanorian Silver Head. I think for money, for the sake of the game, basically saying everything's silver, just do silver, makes a nice simplicity to it. But you know, like I said, if I was going to make a game, I would literally just be like, everywhere you go, it depends on supply and demand, and honestly, most people barter or steal.
Yep.
So if you got silver, they'll probably take the weight of the silver. They won't care whose face is printed on it. So anyway, 5-minute answer to your question. There you go.
So then we're on encumbrance.
Yeah.
Another one of your favorite
am I reading
roles.
or are you reading?
I mean, you were taking gear. You were taking gear.
Yeah. Encumbrance. Characters can carry a number of items equal to strength plus 10 without any penalty. More than that becomes disadvantage on all physical rolls. I like that.
I do.
I like this is not usually the way that encumbrance works in a lot of D20 systems. There's like a weight limit or something, and then you have to come up with a whole weight table. This is more of like a rules light, kind of like, you know, Karen Knavish kind of thing, where it's like you get a set number of items and that's it. I like that. I like this a lot. Non-encumbrance items, anything tiny you can fit in your palms, empty bags, items with no listed weight, such as paper, as well as worn clothing and jewelry. So like stuff you can fit in your pockets doesn't count against you. I like that. Normal items take up 1 slot. Heavy items take up 2 slots. Light items can be bundled up to 10 in a slot. Like torches, rations, small vials, daggers, and ammo. Coins and gems take up 1 slot for every 100 pieces, rounded up. And it is assumed that a character's belongings are distributed among their different bags, sacks, except for things like armor or weapons, which are usually worn. Character without a backpack can only carry a number of items equal to their strength. I love this. I don't know why I love inventory management in RPGs. I really do. I really, really do. And I loved seeing this kind of, you know, crunchy D20 based system have this rules light inventory management system in it, because it feels so much cleaner.
Yep. I agree. I think the first time I really noticed inventory chat in any of our games was Death in Space. I remember that was when we were really... we were seeing the effects of it in play. Yeah.
Well, I really like it because it's like, well, I have a different suit on. Can I carry my biggest gun? You know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, I mean, but that's it. That's all you got. Because you got, like, you're in basically like a skin tight suit with a helmet on. Like, you got no pockets. So you can carry what's in your hands, and that's it. I do like that. Usage die is another one that's generally seen more in the more rules light systems, but is a really interesting way to do things. Things such as torches or ammo are tracked via the usage die. When you first acquire an item that utilizes usage die, it begins at a D8, and each time you use the item associated with it, at the end of a combat, when you use your bow and you need to check your ammo, for example, you must roll the usage die. If the result is a 1 or 2, the die goes down 1 stage. D12, D10, D8, D6, D4. You can purchase or acquire more of an item using the usage die, in which case the die would increase 1 stage. Again, I like it. I like usage die for ammo. Because basically it's the whole concept of, like, you don't need to worry about it. I think my favorite ammo rule is probably in Cyborg, where it's basically like blast out like crazy, and if you at the end roll like a d6, if it's a 1, you got 1 bullet left. Like, but the usage die is basically
Frontier Scum's like that.
Well, Frontier Scum is anytime you roll a 1 in damage, you lose a slot. Yeah, right. But in Cyborg, it's like once the dust settles, roll and see. But Death in Space does a similar thing with condition.
Yeah.
At the end, see if your weapon got broken or anything like that. But the usage die is basically an expanded version of that, where it's like you roll a 1, you go down. You roll a 1, you go down. You roll a 1, you go down. And I like that. Like, spend some silver and you go from a D4 to a D6 without ever having to track 20. I got 30 arrows. I got 50 arrows. I bought a bag of holding and 300 arrows because, in our game, that's exactly what they fucking did. Oh, I got 5,000 gold. All right, I have a bag of holding. I want to buy 200 arrows and stick in the bag. And then it's like,
we
okay, you
kept
never...
people in the bag of holding,
Yeah, I mean, living and dead, and then living that died in it, and then they were dead.
Yeah.
But in every game I ever ran a 5e, like by the third session, they had found a bag of holding because I'm like, I don't want to fuck with your inventory.
Yep.
So this is so much cleaner, and I'm so glad this is the direction they went with encumbrance, with item slots, and with usage die. Such a better way to do it than the average D20 system. So really stoked that they went ahead with that. And then here is
your favorite table. Yeah, your next. Got a whole full spread here of your favorite stuff.
Yeah, this one isn't as bad. The later one, the other gear, is the one that really gets me. I don't mind weapon and armor, especially for like the costs and things like that. I mean, even just the list of like so. For those that can't see what we're doing in podcast land, we roll onto a table for melee weapons. So it's weapon, cost, weight, damage, and properties. Kind of need this, and I think it's a little different with weapons in that, like, it is something you have to use all the time. It's not like a candlestick or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's basically normal, light, heavy on the weight of the weapons. The damage dice are D4, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, whatever it is. And the property: simple, finesse, two-handed, versatile. And there is an explainer a little bit later for what finesse is, what simple, what slow, what two-handed and versatile are. It's what they sound like mechanically. They're well written, make sense, and if you've done D20, you used them before. There is a page here for range weapons as well, from throwing daggers all the way up to heavy crossbows. Slow is one, though. This weapon can only be used once each 2 rounds. That's cool. I like that. The crossbows, because it makes sense, because you're like, you have to crank a crossbow, you know? Mm-hmm. Ammunition, an arrow, each one costs 1 silver piece. So, I mean, for a system that is gonna be pretty light on silver, is what it sounds like, because when even like a bastard sword is 25 silver, great axe is 25 silver, that's the most expensive weapon you can basically get, and then like composite bows and longbows like 60 silver. An arrow being 1 silver, 30 silver, 25 arrows for the same price as a bastard sword. You better collect them afterwards. I can
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And then helmets. It's got the whole list of armor with weights and properties and everything as well.
Which I'm surprised. Is there a rule in here for collecting bolts or arrows?
No, there's not.
That kind of surprises me. I thought because it's a little on the crunchier side.
Because the crunch.
But there might be a roll needed.
Oh, you know what? Because I'm dumb and I completely forgot all of the praise that I just heaped on usage die.
The usage die.
It's 1 silver for, and literally it says next to it, and I just can't read. My reading comprehension sucks today. Increases the usage die by 1 stage for 1 silver. That's quite a lot of arrows. That's actually literally the exact opposite of what I just said. You can get quite a lot of silver. Like, you can spend like 5 silver and go all the way up to like D12, which I think I've done the math before. If you take the average roll of a 1, I think I can't remember it's D20 or D12, but I think if it's a D12 down, you average about like 25 uses before it's gone. I can't remember if that's for D20 or D12. But that's about what it is, to average out to a 1 like 5 times. I think it's about 25. 28, I think is the exact number. I think I calculated with my very poor math. But yeah. So don't listen to anything I just said. It's usage dice, which we talked about. And then we get into, at least it's a short page of other gear: bandages, backpacks, candles, flasks, nets, oils, ropes. I do actually, if this is going to be a thing, I do like brass pieces, because the way that like D&D runs, like basically a copper is $1 is what it comes down to, and a gold is $100. I like that. Like one bandage is 5 brass pieces. I like that. Sometimes there's things that are just like so cheap, that even like a copper feels like a bunch for it.
I thought you liked it because it rhymes with ass, but I'm glad you clarified.
Which part? What did I say rhymes with ass? Oh, well, I mean, it doesn't. Right, it literally is
I'm
ass plus a
I
BR.
know. Terrible joke. Sorry. Moving on.
All right. Rules. Are we just getting
Rules.
to
We're
rules?
just we just finished character creation, gearing up, and so on and so forth, and now we're in
Oh,
rules.
yeah, gearing up. Yeah. Okay. Well, hit us with some rules.
All right. So skill checks again, very familiar. Skill check is performed by rolling a d20, adding the corresponding skills modifier, and comparing the total with a number called the difficulty class, DC abbreviated, which is given by the GM. So we have a list here of very easy, moderate, hard, very hard, nearly impossible, a scale of 5 all the way up to 30. And ability checks, this was kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this before, and you can correct me. You've read a lot more games than I have, but occasionally a character may want to do something that is not covered by the available skills. In those circumstances, the GM may ask the PC in question to perform an ability check by rolling a 3d6. So if the result is equal or lower than the relevant ability score, the attempt is successful. So I guess normally in games, I think you roll a d20. You just say, oh, that fits under this category if you don't have a skill. And then you roll a d20, add the modifier on that ability, and then, or that score, and then that, success or failure. So I thought it was interesting how, I don't know what the math is like on that, but you're rolling a 3d6 instead of a d20 to check on something you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Because basically you're legit just
you're like rolling a new score,
like a new score for character creation, basically. Huh? Yeah, I'd be curious about the math, and it's roll lower. So average of a d6 is what, like a 3.5. So you're I mean, that's why you get like basically a 9 or a 10. So a lot of the time you will succeed.
Oh, Alex says makes it a bit tougher. So
I guess, because I mean a d20. I mean the thing with the d20, and again, the reason I'm not a huge fan of a d20 is because there is no curve to it whatsoever. Like every number has a 5% chance, so it's literally just fate. Like there's no. One of the reasons I love 2d6 is because the bell curve is so perfect. You know what I mean? 3d6, if you're adding them all together, there is a bell curve to it of like the average numbers that you are going to get on a 3d6. So I think it's interesting. I mean, your rolls are going to be a lot more consistent, but I think, as he said, you might have a chance of have it being consistently higher, and it's a roll under. So I'm really curious. I mean, yeah. Because the skills, if they perform an ability check by rolling 3d6, if the result is equal or lower than the relevant ability score. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious to see it play out. I'd love to get in game and just do a bunch of it like that. What if there were no skills and it was all just like that, and it was just 3d6 roll under for like everything? That'd be interesting.
That would be cool. I like that idea. More dice, why not? So that brings us to saving throws. We all know what saving throws are. So you roll a d20 when instructed by the GM. A success is defined as a result that is greater than or equal to the value specified for the saving throw category. And if it's lower, it's considered a failure. Some successful saving throw rolls will totally nullify any effect, while others will only cause half damage. Again, we're very familiar with this stuff. Human saving throws. PCs add their level to their save throw. Minor NPCs or enemy combatants add their HD to their save throws. I wonder why I see like save throws, but then saving throws. I wonder if all the save to be savings. It's called the saving throw, but anyway.
Yeah, it's probably a typo.
If it's a developed NPC that the GM is treating as a character, they will instead add their level, as PCs do. So there's B saving throws as well. This is when you add in the hit die modifier or the hit die to their save throws. Demonic and monster saving throws, though, are the same. So you add your HD as well, hit die. And then there's a couple tables on the next page. We have beast saving throws, and we have paralysis, poison, death, blast, breath, fear, charm, sleep. And they'll have values beneath each one, and demon and monster saving throws. Same thing, paralysis, just different values. And then what those things are defined below. So when you're paralyzed, you're incapacitated and you can't move or speak, and attack rolls have advantage against it. And then, any attack that hits is a critical hit, which there's some cool tables. Yeah. So fear, again, we know all this stuff. I don't think we need to go through every specific thing. And then below that, we have combat. So we have a step-by-step, which is cool. So I really appreciate the stuff where there's a really brief outline. So you could take this, cut it out, put it, obviously make a copy, cut it out, put it on the table until you get it down, back of a GM screen, whatever. So first, step one, determine surprise. So the GM determines whether anyone involved if the combat encounter is surprised. 2, establish positions. The GM is in charge of placing all the characters and their opponents. The GM calculates the distance and direction. This is getting crunchy of the foes, but I guess if you're working on a grid, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's just a D20 gridded combat. Yeah.
And the direction of the foes based on the adventurer's marching order or specified places in the room or other location. 3 is roll initiative. This is a D20 roll, and I believe it's your dex modifier. But everybody involved in the combat encounter has rolled initiative, determining the order. Take turns. Each participant in the battle takes turns in initiative order, and then begin the next round. So you roll again. This is a roll per round initiative system, which I kind of like it. I know we don't do it a lot, but I enjoy that. I think it's in Frontier Scum, so we'll see if you guys get there.
But is it? You roll it? I think it is.
I think it's every round, if I remember right. I do like it. I know in Merkborg it was kind of like you can or you don't have to. I think it's an OSR thing, but I dig it. I dig the.
I mean, it's not quite Troika with a stack where it's literally can be different every time. Yeah. I'm still up in the air on how I feel about initiative every round, because, and I guess, again, I haven't picked a side yet, but I guess one con I can see to it is just the time it takes for everyone to roll again.
But if you do the easy rule, right, where it's like 1 to 3 monsters go first, 4 to 6 or whatever it is, players go first, and you don't do individual initiative, and you just do it that way, then it kind of mitigates that somewhat. But
I think that's good, and I think that actually could create swings in combat where you went, like they go, you go, and then you roll in such a way that you go again before they get to go. So you get double turns. I think that can do that. But
this cool.
This one sounds like it's every combatant rolls initiative every time.
It's a D20. It's standard D&D. Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of initiative, a lot of rolling and counting, and putting people in order and stuff like that.
Especially if you have, but I mean, again, this game is encouraged to play 1v1, so maybe it's not so bad in that regard.
Yeah, because you basically, that's exactly what it is. It's like you were the monster every time if it's just Yeah.
So then that moves us to the attack roll. Very familiar to everybody who's played D&D as well. It's a D20, strength modifier for melee, dex for ranged. And then, but instead of comparing the final roll to a DC, we use the target's armor class. So the total then equals to or exceeds the target's AC you hit. And it looks like since NPCs or monsters don't have modifiers, the GM must add their hit dice to the attack roll and compare it to the total with the target's AC as usual. So pretty standard. Turns and rounds. Again, all of this stuff is going to sound familiar. Turn is when you go, a round is when everybody goes and all the creatures go. An average turn lasts around 10 seconds. Oh, that's weird, because usually it's the round is 10 seconds, right? In D&D?
So
or am I remembering wrong?
A turn is a single combatant's chance to act, while a round is the sum of all combatants' turns. A round is usually 6 seconds.
Oh, a round is okay. So then it's the inverse. So a turn, like one person going, is 10 seconds. Whereas you're saying when everybody goes is like 6 seconds because it's simultaneous.
Well, I mean, because it's supposed to, everything happens at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's 10. I guess
but this is saying a turn, not a round. That's what I'm saying. That's why
it's breaking my brain now.
All right, let's move on to surprise then.
It's confusing.
Who might be surprised is decided by the GM. Each side will immediately notice each other. This is when perception checks are brought in, passive perception as well. And I know, Ryan, you love passive perception. It's 10. Like it. I know, 10 plus the wisdom modifier. Initiative we just talked about in the order. To D20 roll plus your dex modifier. Who has the and then a character or creature. This is kind of cool though. A character or creature that rolls a natural 1 for the initiative loses their turn entirely. So I think that's a new thing I haven't heard of. A character creature that rolls a 20 has advantage during their turn. So those are cool
I
little
like that.
extras.
I like that.
Then we get into the combat turn. So PCs can move a distance up to their speed, 30 feet, and perform one action. This is very common to pretty much most RPGs. Each PC gets to choose whether they want to move first, take the action first. Oh, that's curious. So I wonder if you can't split your movement then in that case. Because I think usually they say, oh, yeah, you can, move half and then attack and then move half again. But here it sounds like
one or the other.
you needed to do one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So standard attack, melee ranged. And but when you hit level 7, you can do an extra attack. And some opponents as well. Use a combat maneuver is another thing you can do. Let's see. When a character uses one, it takes up their entire turn unless stated otherwise by the maneuver's description, regardless of however many attacks. So because it is your power move, you can only do it once for most cases. Use a feat. Some feats grant active combat abilities such as special attacks. And then okay, yeah, but in this case, if you use a feat that counts as one of your attacks, if you can do multiple in that case. Defend, basically, if you're just focusing on defense, you get a +2 to your armor class until the next round. But you cannot attack, of course. And disengage, again, trying to get away, you got to roll a dex ability check. But if you fail, any opponent at melee distance can perform a free attack on you. And then that brings us to other. You can use any item you have on your person to interact with something and so on and so forth, move an extra 30 feet. Generally referred to as dashing, yes, or swap weapons. Once it's determined that an attack hits, you must roll the weapon's damage plus your strength modifier. For melee attacks, dex for range. When a monster is 0 HP, they are dead. When a PC reaches 0 or less, they become unconscious and must roll on the injury table. Some more cool tables. There's a couple of notes down here, so things to remember. Character wielding a weapon and not having a corresponding weapon proficiency, of course, is disadvantage, which is cool. Same thing with armor. Dual wielding. I like it. There's actually a dual wielding quick rule right here, rather than it being class-based. A character with Dex 15 plus can equip 2 one-handed weapons to perform an extra attack per turn with disadvantage. So even if you have a high dex, more or less, you're rolling a disadvantage. Unarmed character is D4 damage. These are all great. I think these would be great as like bullet points in a table somewhere too, like a GM notes, because these are some of the things you want to keep in mind. What else? Range attacks. We know, if you're in melee, you're gonna have disadvantage on it. If a prone target, there's advantage on attacking that. And then resistance, critical hits, and fumbles.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Oh no, the dual wielding disadvantage one. There is a dual wielding feat that lets you go with the regular.
Mitigate
That's one thing you
okay.
can take. Yeah.
That's cool. But now we have a critical hit bludgeoning. Oh yeah, I forgot. Critical hits have different tables depending on what the attack was like. So there's slashing, bludgeoning, bomb, spell-like effect, piercing, fumble. Oh, then the fumble's cool too. But how do you want to do this? Do you want to roll one per each and just give an example?
I'll roll one on each one. Well, so I got how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 d10, right?
Ryan is attacking with his Morning Star. Let's see what his.
And I fail a lot.
What is your bludgeoning?
I got a 10.
Crushing blow. The target dies.
Boom.
Damn. Insta kill. What about when you cast your spell? What happens?
I got a 5.
So that is cluster. Another target receives a normal attack. Okay.
I like that. Yeah.
That's cool. What about your slashing?
I got a 7.
7 is hack. The target receives an extra d6 damage. Cool. What about piercing?
I got a 2.
2 for 1. The attacker deals normal damage to a second nearby target. Nice. Yeah, but anyway, there's you guys pick up the book. Encourage you to do it. Check out all the tables. There's 10 each. They're all very colorful and interesting. Obviously, rolling a 10 is the best. It looks like it's always the target dies. Yes. When a character rolls a natural 1, yay, fumble tables. I love these. So let's see when Ryan fumbles his attack, what happens.
I rolled
Roll
a
it.
10.
You somehow managed to hurt yourself badly with your own weapon. You receive a critical hit. Oh shit. And then you got to roll on the critical. You got to roll on the crit table. So how did you attack yourself? Let's see how you critically hit yourself. What would you say was your what would be your style of choice to?
Well, let's do I think there were 4 damage types, or was it 5? Yeah, it was 4 damage types.
Yeah,
So
4.
it was the second damage type.
So spell?
Yeah. And then
So
another
roll a
D10.
D10 and let's see how you fucked yourself over with this spell.
7. Makes sense.
Concussive blast. The target is launched upwards, falling down moments later, receives 1d6. That's a great visual.
Blew myself up. Yep.
Yeah,
Nice.
blew yourself up.
That's a perfect
and
one,
you
actually.
Fly. You get launched, dude, like straight up. That's cool. So yeah, you guys can see how these tables can make a lot more interesting. I wish all games had these things. Then we get to enemy morale, which is again pretty common, what we're used to with these are D&D. So a human NPC, they're friendly or unfriendly, must make a morale check when, and there's a couple of conditions. 25% of the friendly combatants have been eliminated or fled. 50% of the friendly combatants have been eliminated or fled. The leader is incapacitated, slain, or is fled. So you roll on this little morale check with a D20, and it will tell you what happens. So it could be they retreat, organized retreat, general retreat, retreat in disarray, or surrender. But then beasts are different, I guess. Some monsters must make a morale check when, after losing 75% HP, 50% of the friendly combatants have been eliminated or fled. And then, yeah, same thing. You roll a D20, you figure out what it is. So that's interesting how it varies depending on, which makes sense, I guess, right? Creatures are going to probably not flee as quickly as a human NPC would. And then, there's also a condition roll table below that. So this is 25,
Is this, I don't think it's a roll table. I think it's just like if this, then this.
Oh yeah,
right?
sorry, it's not a roll table.
Yeah.
So depending on what the condition is, the modifier on the above roll is going to be affected on the right side. So -1.
I like that.
+2. Yeah, it's cool. Healing and death. So if you do a long rest overnight, you regain all HP. If another character performs a successful medicine check every day, the recovering character heals at twice the normal rate. And when a character's hit points drop to 0 or fewer, the character is unconscious, possibly dead. The character's condition will not be determined until an ally treats its wounds, or if there's nobody around to check upon them when the combat is clearly over. When this occurs, you roll on the injury table.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't get all of your HP back. There's a healing rate.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah.
So if you're
max,
yeah.
Right. Okay.
So if my max HP is like 25, I only roll a D8, and that's how much I heal. I like it.
Yeah, rather than being like, usually it's kind of just a normal, it's a consistent die across the board.
Normally. Yeah, you literally got to like within an inch of your life, almost died like 4 times, got stabbed in the face and shot in the throat. But as long as you take a nice long sleep, you wake up completely fine. That's how a lot of games work. Hate it. I don't like it. I like lingering injuries. I like not healing to max. I like people carrying wounds with them. I really like it. So I really enjoy this. This is a really interesting way to do it. I don't think I've seen a game that does this. I don't know, Alex, if this was pulled for something or if you made this, but I really enjoy this. Like, if this is your max HP, this is as good of healing as you're going to get. Because the most, I mean, if you have 71 plus HP, you can only heal 3d10, which means at max 30.
Yep.
So you can't even get half your HP back. I'm curious.
It seems to, if you look down, if you have like 1 to HP, you can roll a D4. So you're going to get more most likely than average.
I'm
than the 310.
curious how that will affect downtime gameplay. Like, are
If
there
you're all
gonna
beat up,
be
yeah.
you gotta stay for like 2-3 days. Well then, so are you gonna just say hand wave 3 days in a town, or are you not running like a town adventure where you're like basically like
I
limping around
I feel,
doing
yeah, I think that to me is a great tool for the GM, right? Rather than saying the player saying, "Hey, we want to chill out for 3 days," like, okay,
yeah
on the second day, this shit goes down, and you're forced to push forward with wherever you
yeah
are. So I like that.
I really like that. I could imagine a whole series of downtime adventures where it's like
Yeah,
this might not necessarily be combat, but shit's gonna hit the fan. There's gonna be like
yeah.
a witch burning in the square or something like that. You know what I mean? And are you gonna stop it? Are you gonna encourage it? Like, that kind of stuff that you could easily do, like non-combat role RP character development episodes as you heal for multiple days.
So just to give the viewers or listeners an example, so we have an injury table. I
Mm.
guess we should just pick a random modifier, like what your
Ooh.
modifier might be, and then roll a d20
Uh
to see
Yeah,
what
if
it
the
might
character
be
is
like.
only, well, I'll roll like a d4 because that seems like there's about four different ones on there. So four, one, two, three, -10 if treated up to a day later. Cool. So, and now I'll roll a d20 with a -10. Well, I rolled a 1,
Okay, so the character
-10.
succumbs to their 1 minus 10.
Yeah, because I rolled a d4
Oh,
to
so you're
see what
negative
way.
9.
I'm dead as fuck.
You're dead as fuck.
Yeah.
Dead as fuck.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. Okay. Well, dead as fuck.
I like this because anything less than like a 15, pretty much you're done. Like as far as like out of combat, like 11 to 15 is the character's wounds force you to spend a week resting in bed, and anything beyond that's even worse. Like you got a month in bed, you got basically dying unless you get at least an HP back like within the next minute, then you got dead. But beyond that, like, even 16 to 20, you recover 1 HP and must spend a week in bed still.
So the
And then
question
20,
is, though, go ahead. Sorry, finish, and I'll.
no, I was just saying at 21 to 25, it's 1 night in bed and you're ready to go, and 26 plus means you're ready to fight. But like, I mean, that means literally like anything less than 20 is a week in bed at best.
Which means I'm curious from like an actual gameplay standpoint how that would play out, right? Let's say you have one character who's spending a week in bed. Do you then craft the adventure around a situation where you still require this player character who's incapacitated, or do you just hand wave that week to move on to better stuff? I think that
It,
I'd be curious.
I guess it depends. I mean, like, when we did Dark Kingdoms, I came up with that travel thing with like the narrative to try to get through like a week of travel or whatever. I'd be curious, like you just said, like, because I can imagine if, well, again, the difference is this is designed for one GM and one player, right? So like,
That's
you
true. I
know,
guess in the case of, so in that case, like, I would you just have people having conversations with you or something for a session or something? I don't know. I'm just curious
I
if you are
guess,
playing 1v1.
yeah. But that goes back to like the potential for a lot of downtime,
Yeah.
more RP based character development things, like not the entire anime wasn't guts just fighting. There's a lot of character development, and like, he goes in the town and he meets the fairy and like all the rest of that stuff. You can really do a lot of like actual
Yeah.
story development, especially in such a combat centric game.
Yeah.
Long downtime could really help with like an ebb and flow for a longer campaign if you want to go it that way. So
Yeah. It depends on your play style. It just hit me when I was thinking, wow, if I'm out for a week, what does this look like? And then below we have a roll of toilet paper. I'm just kidding. It's a bandage roll, but when I saw it, I thought it was toilet paper. If the injury roll was
I
between
mean
1 and
it
15,
it
yeah,
does look a little like toilet
that's the
paper.
vibe I got. That's the vibe I got.
Listen, if
But
your
then,
character rolls between 1 and 15, they definitely shit themselves. So
yeah. And then here is another little thing right by the bandage roll, toilet paper roll. If the injury Roll was between 1 and 15, and the character has somehow survived. They must roll in the permanent wound table. Awesome.
Love it.
This roll is wound modified by the character's con modifier. So we have D10 different permanent wounds. So
I roll a 7.
Oh, damaged nerves. Okay, so you just have a modified dexterity by -1.
Yeah.
But if you roll a 10, you lose D10 fingers. A 9 is D6 teeth have been knocked off, and then you lose a charisma point, of course. Yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah, I like this.
Permanent wounds.
Like arm gone, eyes gone, leg gone. I love that.
Yeah. And then finally, we come to fatigue. So fatigue represents exhaustion, exposure, et cetera, wounds or injuries. If a character goes for too long without sleep or food, climbs a frozen mountain without proper equipment, or tries to cross an endless desert without enough water, they're going to start accruing fatigue. The most common reasons are going without food or water for 24 hours. We know this rule, it's very common. Or not getting any rest, pulling an all-nighter. Environmental harshness, as mentioned above, can also be a deciding factor. So each level of fatigue adds to the effect of the preceding levels, piling up in a way that can become quite harmful very quickly. Each time a character is suffering from fatigue gets a proper meal or a night's sleep, their fatigue level is decreased by 1. So we have a fatigue table below that. On the left side, we have fatigue level 1 through 6, and we have effect. And these effects are speed half, disadvantage on strength, dexterity, and constitution checks, disadvantage on attack rolls, saving throws using strength, dexterity, or constitution. Max HP is reduced by half. It's getting worse, you guys. You can see that. And then we get up to another level, speed reduced to 5 feet and able to maintain even a slow travel pace. Damn. And then, of course, 6, the character dies, which is a common trend on the high rolls on this one.
Do you want to layout of the layout of the numbers is feels a little off.
Like
the
6
alignment's
is like
way up there.
Yeah, I've noticed that on a couple tables where the alignment's a little bit, you go down to 2 or 3 lines and it's kind of lose tracking, but an alternated like white gray would help mitigate that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, travel procedures. We'll just cruise through this. I mean, it's travel. You're moving places.
It's hex though, which is cool. I dig hex. I do.
Yeah,
we need to. I think when we play like Forbidden Lands or something or another game, we'll definitely, that is centered around hex. It'll be cool.
I do like I said before, the way that this is D20, but some of the better parts of the quote unquote like newer OSR, NSR kind of like rules light stuff is filtered into it, which is nice because there's just easier processes that work the same that have been added, which really I think helps lessen the burden of a little bit of that crunch.
Yep.
So yeah, keep track of the PC's journey, and sacrifice is done with the help of a hex grid. Each hex representing 6 miles. Each day of exploring and traveling in the wild is roughly divided into 3 phases. The length of the phases can vary depending on the party's behavior. You got morning, evening, and night. During each of the phases, the PCs must declare their actions for the phase, choosing one of the available options. There is a weather table, which is cool. It's nice to have that. I remember when we played our Evil campaign.
Oh, yeah. And because me being a Derek weather was very important. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had to roll on the weather table to see if it was like hot out for a bunch of the characters, a bunch. Didn't Eric have one for a while too? Or was it you just that rolled on that table?
He was a Trollkin, I believe, at the beginning, and then he became a Dampier, I think, right?
Yeah.
The second character.
Yeah. So it's hot, clear, overcast, rainy. There's possible actions that you can take. Are camping. The PCs attempt to look for an appropriate place to camp. This includes setting up the tent, searching for water, firewood, building a campfire, all that kind of stuff. You can explore a hex, where you look for prominent features and whatnot. You can forage, which is foraging. You can hunt or fish, and
but
you
there
can
is
interact.
Camping mishaps, though.
There is. Well, there's setting camp conditions, which is like a DC, like if it's stormy and blizzardy, you have to have a DC 18. But yes, mishaps. Just a second. So interact. The party starts at one location for at least one phase. There's travel. The party moves up to 3 hexes when traveling. And there's some alterations to the movement. But yeah, do you have a roll table, or do you want me to roll a D10?
I don't have a roll table up right now, so if you got
I'll roll it up.
For it.
So this is what you said, camping mishaps. I rolled a 3. Setting camp mishaps. You set camp over a wet patch of land without realizing it. You wake up wet and uncomfortable with damp clothes and gear. You have disadvantage on all con-related checks for the next 24 hours as you feel tired and unrested. I like that. It's a little extra crunch. Yeah.
It is, but I like, again, I like things being determined by roll tables. It's such a cool way to add some randomness to it and then take some of the burden off the GM, you know?
Yep. I mean, you can, I mean, you know, again, Alex does a lot of solo games. And with stuff like this, especially, well, again, with just a 2-player game, I think there's a big difference between having a crunchy game and having a game that has a lot of crunchy procedures. I think he said that during the interview, where like exactly this, we're running into like 10 pages of tables for a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't feel burdensome. It feels like, okay, yeah, like having the weather, having things happen when you camp, having a bunch of stuff like you just said really takes a burden off the GM. And if you're running solo, because there is a GM list like packet, it allows you to not just be like, well, I want it to be hot today, I guess, you know?
Yeah, right.
And actually like build the world. So I do like it. I don't think there's any issue with the tables at all. Random events can happen. So GM must check random events. There are traveling mishaps, another D10. Let's see some. Number 8. Random characters' boots fall apart. They suffer 1 level of fatigue due to exposure. Maybe because they got wet during camping. That's what's great about good tables, is they interact well and you can create a story like really like for most combinations, which is nice. Random encounters, it's a D10. I like this.
Actually,
Number 5
I have a physical D10 in front of me.
Oh, there
we go. I got a 4.
You got a 4. So 3 to 4 findings and events. So it's another table, which is a D20 table. I'll roll a D20 for you. How do you have a D4, a D10 in front of you?
I don't know. I have these 2 dice in front of me for some reason. I don't know.
Are they
why
like Merkboard dice?
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
They're black and yellow. Yeah.
Black and yellow. So you found an abandoned farmstead. Nice. I do like this encounter table though, like the 1 to 10. Like 1 to 2 is no event, 3 to 4 is findings and events, 5 to 6 is creature encounter, 7 to 9 is NPC encounter, and 10 is creature and NPC encounter. I really like that.
Yeah, I do. The one thing that's interesting too is to think of like this, even though a lot of these tables are dictating what you find, an abandoned farmhouse, that could be like a little adventure in itself, or a little encounter anyway. So, but then that puts it on the GM like, okay, you got to think on your feet and, you know, figure out what that might be.
You can't take all the burden off
No.
Yeah,
I know. No, I'm just saying it's cool. It's a good prompt.
Yeah. A couple of creature tables here. Let's roll a couple of more D20s. On the first one, I got 15. So a creature could be a monstrous frog. Yeah.
See, we're already creating a narrative. You had a wet campsite. Now there's a big giant frog. So it's working.
And then on the other creature table, which seems more like people, it's not animals.
Yeah.
I rolled a 20, which is a troop of wandering troubadours.
Okay,
so I wonder if this is supposed to say NPC at the top here instead of creature, because when you read underneath it, it says each time a Brandon encounters a regular beast, and then it says each time a Brandon encounters an NPC.
Oh yeah, Alex said he can. Yeah, it's confirmed. Yeah, no,
it's a typo.
Yeah. Yep. No worries.
There's a 1 in 6 chance that it will be taken over. Oh, so let me actually read these notes at the bottom. So on the creature one, it says there's a 3 in 6 chance that it will be taken over by an evil spirit. When you run into a beast. And on the NPCs, there's a 1 in 6 chance that will be taken over by an evil spirit. See page 73 for more details. NPC hostility standard, list 1d20 for from hostile to helpful. And the disposition is modified by charisma, what the merchant wants, what the NPC is trying to avoid, things like that. And then there's corruption. I know you were talking about corruption earlier. Do you want to take corruption?
Corruption, awesome. Yeah, I love it. So the world is an ugly place, being strangled and suffocated by the polluting influence of demonic beings, which manifests itself as corruption. Normal human evil gives birth to the metaphysical evil of corruption. A lord that enjoys handing out punishments too much, an inquisitor who revels and the screams of the heretic, a father abusing of his children. These are all portals for demonic influences. So certain creatures, places, and actions can cause a character gain corruption with a capital C. When they earn an amount of corruption above their threshold, this is very reminiscent of Symbaroum, honestly. There's sort of a corruption threshold. I'm not sure if this is like just an old school D&D thing too, but anyway, when it's the corruption is above their threshold, they suffer the effects of a mark of corruption and must roll on the table below. So a character's corruption threshold is equal to their level plus their wisdom modifier. And each time a character earns a mark of corruption, their corruption score is reset back to 0 unless they have earned any permanent corruption which cannot be cleansed. And then here's what I was talking about earlier. A character performing altruistic deeds will lose a number of corruption points determined by the GM. So this is kind of a cool way to get rid of alignment, but then like make your choices matter to a degree, because you don't want to, get a permanent point of corruption or mark of corruption. But we have a D20 table below with all of these different marks of corruption. So why don't you roll a D20?
I got a 16.
Oh, so I can't tell which one. I think it's you shiver and salivate uncontrollably when in the presence of suffering. Interesting.
It's like drooling, like, oh yeah, give me that suffering.
Yeah, but there's cool ones in here too, like the stench of decay clings to you. You laugh maniacally at random. Your tongue grows and stretches, sometimes of its own volition. An apostle appears, offering you to ascend to demonhood. Oh, that's cool. Your blood turns black.
So, sorry. Once you have, okay, sorry. Each time a character earns a mark of corruption, their corruption score resets to 0. So you can just continuously be marked over and over and over again.
Exactly.
That sucks. I wonder if, like, would you roll on the, like, where the brand is time every time you get marked? Like, or do you think it's like a physical mark? Or is it just like a thing
with a mark
like
of corruption?
More like a physiological, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the results, whatever is in the list below, I would say, So like
you point
your teeth are become sharp or whatever. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I kind of little something.
It's kind of like void corruption, a little bit.
Yeah. The brand of sacrifice. I kind of want them to have like a weird hairy patch or like a third nipple or something. just every time they get one, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that could be your 21. Rolling a 21. So anyway, cool. I like it. Again, it fits in with the setting. Good stuff. So gaining experience points, which I was talking about earlier, where it is a little bit more crunchy. So for example, it says most XP is given in combat, but also you get 10 XP each time you successfully pass an ability check, which is really, I mean, that's some bookkeeping right there. A combat critical hit grants a number of XP equal to the damage dealt. So an even, a random number there. A creature or NPC that flees combat due to poor morale is still considered defeated and gets its full amount of XP. The GM is encouraged to grant XP to those players. Obviously, we know this as well to help move the story forward. So a couple of little things to quote unquote remember, as noted here in bold, to how to divvy out XP. Keep track of it. Which brings us to the setting.
Well, yes, the setting, but I also scrolled all the way down to the character sheet.
Ah, yeah.
Because in a crunchy game, you're going to have a crunchy character sheet, right? So just taking a quick peek at this. So name XP. So it is, I mean, it's not. It's not. It's a little busy. But less so than what I expected. But I would almost want to have almost like a tally sheet for like my XP, you know what I mean? Like literally just like a grid of things to be like, okay, 7, 9, da da da. And at the end of every session, just like line, total, and then keep going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and where is oh, there's corruption, I see it.
Yeah. So name, XP level, it's got strength, intelligent, wisdom, dex, constitution. It's got all those with 2 boxes, so you can put your score and your modifier. It's got the corruption in the threshold, passive perception, initiative, healing rate, mastery dice, your saving throws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots for weapons, 5 spots for proficiencies, a long list for feats, all of the skills, some character details, a list of your combat maneuvers. It's got a whole page for basically just stuff. There's maximum item slots listed. I like that it's strength plus 10. There's like a little number of like what it is. There's a usage died chain listed. It's got another rule. Like, I love when there's little rules you might forget a lot on your character sheet to remind you of them. Like your first 10 items are in your pockets, belts, etc. So that's why there's like a long list of pages and stuff like that. A section for silver, copper, and brass pieces. Notice there's not gold because you're not going to find any. Total number of coins and gems. Times or divided by 100, so that actually marks an item slot. I like that that's there. It's going to break down all the things. So non-encumbrance items, like your pocket stuff here, and then a list of up to 40 for encumbrance items. So again, it's a nice looking, clean character sheet. I almost expected it to be a little bit denser, but I like that it's not.
I think it helped that it's essentially laid out like a spreadsheet. So
yeah.
it's not,
oh my gosh.
There's not like stuff kind of composed in a different weird way. It's literally like horizontal and vertical. Yeah, roses.
I like that, and I really like artsy character sheets, but I think there's too much. For this to get super artsy. I think this is a great way to do it. But again, I would have a third page that's literally just like a tally page, and it would just be like, oh, I got 7 this time. Oh, I got 10 this time. Oh, ability check, I got 10. Like I would almost even have just like ability checks and like 50 boxes, and then like, you know, and just be like ability check, check, and have like session.
I like because, you know, normally the GM or the DM or whoever keeps track of the XP, but I like that idea because then it brings the player into it. They're like, oh sweet, I got 12 or whatever, and they get to jot it down. So cool.
And you could actually almost even do, there's got to be a way where you could have it literally just be like per level, you know what I mean? But I think with the differences between like when you roll the crit and stuff like that, it'd be a little bit different. But I would definitely try to come up with something that literally, especially for the 10 for ability checks, is such an easy just checkbox instead of writing and adding 10 every time. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's dope. So yeah, the setting. It's a dark world.
It is.
Yeah. We're not going to read through the entire setting. It's, you know, buy the book. Get the PDF.
Yeah, buy the book. It's actually interesting because it's more detailed than I thought it was going to be.
It's a decent chunk of the book. If you look at the
I feel like you don't normally see this kind of level of detail in these zine format RPGs.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty positive it's perfect bound, Alex, if I'm right. Because I think zine stops around like 60-65 pages and has to go to perfect bound beyond that. And this one clocks in at 83.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a little bit more than, I mean, still like everyone calls a zine any kind of like A5 style thing right now, but like, and it is what it is. But like, yeah, I agree. It's 25 pages of world, really, like on like A5 double column. Like it's a lot of
maps, and there's some maps in there.
Yeah. Then 10 pages of bestiary. We can jump to that real quick. Oh, let's use the hyperlink table of contents.
Ton of tables too in the back, everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let's jump to some weekly events. There's a D20. There's a whole D20 page of adventure seeds, which is great. I'm gonna roll one of those real quick just because they are really, really good. I got number 9, which I'll say the PCs come across a group of deserters who are initially violent but are clearly desperate. They swear their official is secretly a monster that eats the wounded. That's fun. Treasure and reward tables. What do commoners have? What do priests have? What do noblemen have? What do fighters have? Artifacts. A lot of dope artifacts here. Let's pick one of them. There's a D10 of really awesome artifacts. Let's go with number 1. Artifacts. Although the kind of magic one can find in fairy tales and folk stories doesn't exist, there are some items that are remarkably unique. So the Bloodblade is a thin yet incredibly sharp +2 short sword made of an unidentifiable material, said to be an apostle's tendril of some kind. When the weapon deals damage to an opponent, it also deals 1 damage to its wielder. Sharp thorns sprout from its hilt.
Sweet.
Yeah. Withering Shield, Inquisitor, Ahmad's Torch, Medusa Armor, some badass stuff. The Bestiary. Did you get a chance to go through the Bestiary?
I didn't. I scanned it, but I didn't read it in detail. Yeah.
So we'll just go through what is all on like a character sheet, and then we'll probably. I mean, they talked about Apostle a bunch, so we can hit that, and then we'll get to the review on this. So what do the numbers mean? I like that straight up. It's like, this is a stat block. Let me explain to you it real quick. I really enjoy that. Each entry in this chapter has a series of categories that detail the creature's capabilities. These are the number of enemies. I think this should probably be like a bolded separate section too, because it looks like the rest of them. The number of enemies of this type that appear once encountered. Morale, the creature's modifier for all morale checks, HD. The number of hit dice that must be rolled to determine the creature's total HP, expressed in D8. AC is their armor class. PP is their passive perception. Attacks, the number and type of attacks and the resulting damage. XP is how much you earn. Special is that they have any special abilities. Evil creatures and spirits of darkness. While most creatures the characters encounter in their travels through Nea can be considered mundane regardless of their appearance and ability, some of them have been clearly corrupted by evil spirits, and as such may have some terrible dark deeds that their mortal brethren cannot match. Each time a branded crosses paths with beasts or particularly evil humans, there's a chance of them being overtaken by evil spirits. This is marked in the rules as X in 6 chance, and it must be rolled for each branded in the party. When a normal beast or man has been taken over by an evil spirit, they gain the following changes. Weakness to sunlight. The forces of darkness abhor the light, which weakens them. When in direct sunlight, they have disadvantage on all checks, and they get the following modifiers. Morale, they are immune to fear and morale effects. They get +2 to HD, +2 to AC, plus D6 on damage rolls, and get +10 XP/HP. So that is a stat block. And these changes affect the whole enemy group, so there's no need to check on an individual basis. It's kind of dope that like you run into a bunch of NPCs, and there's a chance that like while you're just chatting with them, they just like get taken over by evil spirits. And then now you have to fight evil stuff.
That's awesome.
So apostles, humans who have achieved demonhood at the expense of their humanity, and certain other sacrifices, usually in the form of human lives, closer to the demon to be, the better, gain the title of apostle, which that's straight from Berserk too, right?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the Berserk expert.
Have you not read Berserk?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, you would love the shit out of Berserk until they get to the fairies and Puck and crap like that.
Yeah, confirmed. Alex says. Yeah, straight from Berserk.
Yeah. I think you'd be the same where I is. It took me a while to get through the parts where like I don't know the redemption arc basically. While capable of continuing their lives among humans and retaining most, if not all, of their original human appearance, all apostles have a true demonic form that they can manifest at will. This final real form is so terrifying that most humans can do nothing more than soil themselves and pray for death to come swiftly. Many famously corrupt and evil noblemen and church officials are indeed apostles, containing their thirst for bloodshed and depravity as best they can. Few live to learn the truth about these evil creatures. All apostles cause any human in their vicinity to suffer D4 corruption. Facing an apostle's real form triggers a fear saving throw. All apostles are immune to fear, sleep, and charm. They're also immune to morale effects. Upon losing 50% of their HP in human form, an apostle will reveal their true demonic form. What follows is an example of an apostle. So Abax the Beast, Immortal Warrior. In their human form, they're HD 8, AC 16, movement 60, passive perception 13, attacks per weapon type, XP 200, +2 over HP. Gear is a Brigandine, Colossal Morningstar, which is D6 +2, bludgeoning damage, ignores 2 points AC. But in their demonic form, they increase in size to 45 feet tall and sprout bat-like wings. The head becomes that of a horned beast with dark red fur covering its whole body. HD +4, AC 22, movement 180, flying, attacks 2 times claw, D10 slashing damage, 1 times headbutt, D8 bludgeoning damage. XP becomes 2,000 +4 over HP, and they got 3 special attacks. There's multi-attack where they can take 3 attacks per round. They have Devour, which is a standard attack. They grab a victim, slam it against the ground, causing 3d8 bludgeoning, and then attempt to devour them. to devour them, they must then perform a strength ability check in order to avoid it, or suffer an extra 2d6 bludgeoning. And then there's a sweep. As a standard attack, Avik sweeps around him with his claws, dealing 2d6 damage to all targets within 10 feet.
Pretty epic.
It's a stat block.
Mm-hmm.
It is a stat block. There's like a whole list of the apostles and stuff too. But even like standard like Black Bear is a thing. It's just got numbers or D3. It's got morale. It's got all the basic stuff, and it's got a bear hug. So it's got a great It's got a great list here. Buffaloes, giant boars. So you go from apostles, which are basically like half demonic humans, to like giant rats and spiders and stuff, which of course you have to have. Horses, manticores, stags, wolves, Achillean warriors, inquisitors, knights, mercenaries, pilgrims.
There's your monstrous frog.
Yeah. And does it have like a tongue attack?
No, it's got a bite, and no tongue attack. I'm surprised.
Ettins, risen, trolls, yeah. And that's the game. So we hit everything but the setting, and the setting honestly is something that you should buy the book for and read. It's really good. I really enjoy it. I mean, again, Alex's mind is dark and fun, and I really enjoy his games. And that is Sacrifice. So review and then giveaway?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So kicking into the review, this is the way that we do reviews on here. This book, I think, is a perfect example of what we go for in a game. It took us 2 hours to get through that. 40 pages of rules, 35 to 40 is about the standard. A great batch of world stuff and a solid amount of bestiary. I'm a big fan. When we do ratings on a game, there's 5 scores that can have up to 10 points each. First is art and style. This is how the art is used, quality, quantity, style. Often comes into like the layout, like stylistically, how does it look? Versus the next thing, layout and function, which is layout as in readability, and function as in a lot of that is tools. Like if it's a physical book, does it have ribbons and things like that? But in a digital, which is where I focus on a lot and bitch about, is are there table of contents? Are there hyperlinks? Are there inline hyperlinks? Or are there tools in order to help you navigate the book easily, especially while at the table? That's where function comes into a lot. There's rule set and crunch, which is it a new rule set? If so, is it good? And if it's an adapted rule set, is it adapted well? And crunch, does it equal the crunch that it says it is? Is it really rules light if it says rules light? Is it Shadowrun or Rollmaster? Originality is a totality, of everything. Is the setting original, or the rules original, or like how different does this feel from a bunch of other games? Is it just another space game, or does it feel unique in and of itself? And value is the not just cost of the book, but also what it's like you're bang for your buck. Like when you buy this, what all do you get for it? How dulled out is the book? Is there a third-party license? Are there other adventures for it already? All those kind of things. So up to 10 points on all of those. 5 is not bad. It's just average, like a standard average, bang average book. Like D&D would be like a 25. You know what I mean? So art and style. What are your thoughts?
I'd say, like I said, I like the consistency of it. I like that there's a single artist throughout. It's not everywhere. I'd say the book is mostly text. But I think some of the negative space is, is filled in, which is nice. I'm thinking like 7-ish.
So let's so one of the ways that we do this often is it subjectively? It's not objectively. Basically, we compare other books.
Sure. So what's another 7 that you?
That's what I'm trying to. Yeah, weekly scroll. Let's bring up the scores. Because I agree with you. I think that like a 10,
I'd say it's
a 10 is Merkborg. It's basically an art book, like Merkborg, Warpland, books like that, where they're literally basically like art projects with a game inside of it.
Right.
And a 1 is literally like a Word document where half the pages are empty. You know what I mean? So art is, so Merkborg's obviously a 10. Troika got a 7. I kind of feel the same way I feel about, like, I love the style of Troika. Like Dirk Detweiler does amazing art. But again, like, it's just like there's pieces, but it's not arty. Necronalis obviously got a 9.
I would say
Arc,
Troika is probably a little bit more arty than this one, though.
I
Personally,
think so. Well, because they have like a piece on every background. Red Giant had a 7. Honestly, and I think 12 Years had a 6. Yeah, you know, I think Overarms had a
6 and
7.
Yeah.
I think it's honestly between 6 and 7 because I love the way that the art is, just like you said. But even in like Overarms, which got a 7, there was like a little drawing for every beast. Like every bad guy had like a little drawing and stuff like that. So I think the pieces that are there are stunningly beautiful, but I do think the big pieces are sparse.
Yeah.
Let's go. I think the style though. I think a 7 sounds like a good number. I think you're right on the money the first time. So let's go with a 7 for the art because I mean that cover art is also beautiful.
Yeah.
Layout and function. What do you think of the layout?
Layout and function. It's readable. I think some of the headings could be bigger, separated a little bit more. You know, we there were some table issues with alignment. There's some typos.
Typos. Yeah.
I would say it's readable. I wouldn't say it guided my eye 100%, honestly. Specifically in character creation, and I don't know if it's because of the 2-column design, whereas I feel like some of the stuff could be singled out and grouped in a different way. But go ahead.
And yeah, I think the layout, it definitely hits that like kind of old school vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, this is my problem too. I love the top fonts here, where they switch those up a little bit.
Do you mean the main headers? I mean, I was talking about the other sub headers is what I
Well, yeah, like where it says characters and stuff like that. But like, I wouldn't mind the whole book just being in kind of a grittier font. You know what I mean? I know that's hard because like you don't want to make it too off and like it makes it hard to read. There's a reason people like the fonts that they like. Like even if you're wrong, Arial's readable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind it being in just like a fell font or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you take like, you know, you have the basics, which is a nice header, but then below that, what is sacrifice? Advantages. I think some of those could be, you could, like you said, add some more flavor to those ones because then it's going to draw your eye because honestly, the font size
is the same. That's what I was just going to say. It's bolded, but it's the same font size. Yeah.
So I thought myself, I don't think this book would be super easy to like flip through at the table because there's not like these bolded areas that are catching your eye.
And there are times, and a lot of it's from the art in the table sometimes too, but like it generally goes like left column, right column. And then sometimes it's more like across, like in areas and stuff like that. So yeah. Functionality, I mean, the table of contents is hyperlinked, which gotta have that. Are there bookmarks? Let's check the bookmarks. There are bookmarks. Gotta love that. I think the only thing
inline though, right?
I think that's the only thing missing. I think there was a part where we were talking about like go to page 73, like page 74, and you can't click on 74. I mean, but that's like when I go, have to have this, really need, like, you know, it'd be real nice if you had this.
Yeah.
This would kind of take the cake. That one's like the bottom one, but still, I think, like you said, the layout, it could be a little bit more readable. There could be a little bit more tools to it. I'm trying to think of a book that like had a similar kind of. So if we call 5 is bang average. Right. I think that there are some functionality tools, like having hyperlinks and bookmarks to me does add a point because I think the average PDF out there you get off Drive Through RPG doesn't have that. So it's a very minimum of 6. What do you think?
I'm thinking 5, 6-ish because like I said, there's just some, and I know we have I guess this is the function aspect too. So functionally could be a little bit difficult to parse quickly. Yeah, I don't know, 5 or 6. What are you thinking?
I think 6. I think 6 is solid. I think that, you know, just with the bookmarks and hyperlinks, the number of times we flipped open a book and the table of contents isn't, and there are no bookmarks, would like you have to have a point even just for that. So rule set and crunch. So at its core, we know it is standard D20, or like the D20 system, which we can just say is D&D. But there's a lot tacked on that makes it really unique, really interesting, that doesn't feel burdensome, that reinforces tone, that reinforces vibe. Like I would not play 5e again. Like for a friend on stream who wants me to be a guest player, sure, I'll hop in and do that. I would much rather play.
I like how you saved it right there, the last second.
Because you know what I was talking about.
Well,
but
I mean, yeah.
I would much rather play even like a big fucking axe, like a 5e hack or something like that, than like standard 5e.
Sure.
Would I pick this up right now? And even more so, even more than that, like not even be a player in this, would I run this? Fuck yeah, I absolutely would. I
know you would. This game is like made for you.
I mean, Alex, I'm the fucking edgelord in the group. Like, I get it. So yeah, I really, really enjoy the rule set. I don't think if this is rules light for Alex, I think this is a little crunchy for me, but again, I don't find it burdensome. I think the crunch, there's nothing in here where I'd go, I could get rid of that. I mean, could I get rid of the extra gear table? I could. Is it something I could live with it being in there? Absolutely. So I don't think there's anything in here where I'm like, you don't need this. And I think there's a ton of stuff like the tables that are really good, really well written, like really well done. So just as far as the rule set and crunch, I really, really like this game a lot. What are your thoughts?
So what are you going to give it? Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's obviously it's familiar, right? It's D&D, D20, but there's enough of an extra layer, I think, that really sets it apart from just being a mild hack.
So in comparison, Eyes Beyond the Torchlight, which you did with me, got a 7.
Yes.
This is better than that, I think.
Yes, I 100% agree. 100%.
Yep. Fleo, I don't know if you listen to Fleo. Fleo got an 8.
Okay.
And this feels about Fleo for me. I think Fleo is actually longer and has more rules.
Okay.
But I think play-wise and stuff like that, I think it's about an 8. And the other thing, too, is like a 9 is a 10. Because we've never given a 10, and I don't think we ever will. Because like two of us would have to just be like equally agree that this is the greatest game we've ever played in our lives. So I just don't think that that's going to happen. So I think 8
sounds like an 8.
Yeah. 8's one of the highest scores we give for rules on like any type of consistent basis. So we'll go 8. And again, in context, Frontier Scum I think was the last game we did, and it was a 9. Which is pretty much the highest we've ever given, which I agree with Frontier Scum to be a 9. Originality. So, I mean, it's Berserk the game. If Berserk ever came out with an RPG and didn't want to, and they somehow, by the grace of Abex, did not do 5e, this would be the game. And I don't say that in a bad way.
Right, but you did tell me that when you guys judge this stuff, it's not globally, right? It's for the ttrpg space. So you have to ask yourself, is that right?
Well, I mean, so originality is a little different because it's literally a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? Like the question is, I mean,
you're not going to knock it because it's Berserk, right?
No, I think it's fantastic. No. I was saying that's not a knock at all. I would love to fucking play Berserk the game. You know what I mean? I don't think that the fact that it's heavily based on an IP makes it unoriginal. Is there another Berserk game out there? Is there another game where I can be branded and fight demons and all that kind of stuff? I mean, there's dark games out there, but this, like, one GM, one player, you versus the world, branded, marked by corruption, fighting the Inquisition, fighting demons, chasing you, killing apostles. Is there another game out there like that does it like this? I don't think so. And I'd love it. Like, Incense and Iron is a great tag, like Sword and Sorcery, like, because especially once you read the thing, like, what is Incense and Iron, you're like, I totally 100% get this. So originality then, so if we base it on like even, and the other thing too is the setting isn't just the world of Berserk either. Like there's a lot of really fun, interesting parts of the setting that really separate it differently too. So when we look at originality, actually, Eyes Beyond the Torchlight got a 7, and a lot of that was actually the rule set because they had a lot of really clever ways that they did things. Best Buried got a 7 on originality. Rune Cairn got an 8. This feels a lot more like Rune Cairnish level to me. 9s are like Viking Death Squad, Cyborg.
Where it's just completely out of the blue, like a twist on something. Yeah. So Kingdoms. It sounds like you're thinking an 8 then.
Yeah, I mean, 12 years is an 8, and this feels like 12 years to me. Like, if I had to compare this to a game, like, not necessarily setting, but, like, structurally and, like, the vibe of, like, the game itself, I think it's, like, 12 years. Like, it's a solo or two-person game designed that way as a game, not like as a journaling thing. So I think 8 is really solid for this. What are your thoughts?
Right. Yeah, I agree. You convinced me.
Value. Okay, so my headphones are actually dying. I'm gonna have to plug into something else in just a second. Alex, if you drop the link, you do not have permission. You can just drop it in my Discord, and I will post it for you. So on LFOSR's page, if you want to get the physical bundle, it costs, I believe, $40. If you're a Patreon, it's like $20.
Oh dang! It's on the main page. It's got its own like animated header.
Yeah. But don't forget, in that bundle for $40, you get the 86-page perfect bound book in that beautiful uncoated thick texture LFOSR paper. If you've ever held an LFOSR zine, you're gonna want them all to be in that paper. It's a big old chef's kiss. You get a bonus zine of the GM list rules and tools. You get the Commoner Trifold pamphlet, which is another class, the Commoner class. You get the incense sticks. It is a fiery blend of orange and cinnamon, handmade by Sea Witch Botanicals, without any synthetics or plastic. So an incense and an RPG's got to come with incense, right? You get a bookmark. You get character sheets, and LFOSR's character sheets are always stunningly beautiful. The reference map, full spread size folded map printed on sand speckle paper, and it all comes in a metallic foil bag, golden foil bag with the Sacrifice logo on it, all for $40. That's a crazy fucking value. That's a crazy value, especially with the quality that LFOSR does in their printings. They're immaculate. Like, immaculate. Yeah, it's a crazy value. Is there a place that I think it's on drive-thru, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yes, it's on drive-thru, so you can get the PDF for $10 for an 83-page book. Decent value. I was expecting more like 15. After like $60, it can kind of bump up. We know it's got a Creative Commons 4 license, which is basically, open source, just attribution, and then you can do whatever you want with it, which is dope. Yeah. I really like that. Obviously, if you're going to use a D&D bit, you got to put the open license, just like the end of it. So I think this is a crazy good fucking value, especially for the physical version.
So what are you thinking?
Well, they really are going to die soon. So we have a couple of 10s. Like, so Merkborg's value, if it wasn't a 10 before, which I think it was, it's a 10 now because you can literally get the entire book for free.
All right. Plus adventures.
And the entire Merkborg
content.
cult.
Yeah, everything.
All 100. So it's not that, because it ain't free.
Right. So I sense a 9.
I sense a 9 too. I think really a 9. I mean, even like I said, just if this was print on demand 83-page book from Drive-Thru RPG with a $10 PDF, it'd probably be like a $20 or $25 book plus shipping for standard Drive-Thru RPG print version. Easily $20 or $25. And for $40, you get LFR version plus the fucking pack. I mean, I think it's an easy 9, realistically. I don't think you're going to get a lot better bang for your buck in a physical version of a book.
All right,
Death in Space. Death in Space. The Death in Space book looks like a special edition book, and it's like $35. But yeah. So that is where's the calculator? 7 plus 6 plus 8 plus 8 plus 9. That is a 38. That is a solid score. Considering Frontier Scum was like one of the highest ones we'd ever rated, and it had like a 41. So I think if we look at it, really, it's just it's a little bit art sparse, and there's the layout is could do with a little bit more readability, and there are some like typos and things in it. But I think that's literally like the only real like quote unquote knocks we have on the game at all. And otherwise, like as a game, I really like it. It's fucking good. What are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I dig it. I mean, like I said, it's not my main concern when I first started reading this was that it's just going to be a lightly skinned D&D. But then once you get into it, you can see that there's a lot of thought brought into bringing that tone and the world and the setting and everything into that to really set it apart. So yeah, I dig it.
Okay. And now we're going to do the giveaway. I want to use that Twitter picker thing, but I forgot to log into it and don't feel like fighting with it now. So it is officially closed on Twitter. I'm just going to let's find the original one. Should I do this on stream? Should I make this so that people can see it?
Yeah, why not?
We can just get rid of the kickstart the podcast thing at the top. We'll just mute that. We'll pull up. Well, there went my headphones, so give me 1 second. Let's pick the new source. That's gonna be Yeti. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can hear you.
All right. Let's bring up the old Twitter page here. There we go. So this is the let's bring it over here. This is the old tweeters right there. So it looks like we have 28 likes. So I'm going to do let's go with let's go to Google's, because this doesn't go straight to Google. And let's go with a random number generator. Minimum 1, max is 28. And we are going to generate a number real quick. 1. Did I do that right? Did I do that wrong?
I don't know. Hit it again and see what happens.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. I guess it was 1.
Number one.
Number 1. So I go to the likes, and it's got to be so is number 1 the top one or the bottom one? Because the bottom one is Alex. He was the first one to like it, so I think he's got a version of himself. So that's
number 2.
Well, so the next one was number 4.
Oh,
was the next roll.
Gotcha.
So 1, 2, 3. That would be Kirby from Disaster Tourism.
Okay.
There we go.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's who won it. It's funny, he was just on here last week and gave away a bunch of stuff, and I was going to get a free book. So
hey, it's
for those
coming,
at home,
man. Yeah, it's just coming back.
Yeah. So just so everyone, we did it all live, so people know. I rolled a 1, which was Alex. He's not getting it. I rolled a 4, which was Disaster Tourism. Oh, see, so it does roll higher. Good. We just had 2 low rolls on there on the start. So that's the stream. That's the whole podcast.
There we are. Sacrifice.
So I'll hit up Kirby and let him know that he got the Sacrifice bundle. We hope to be doing more giveaways. Again, this is from LFOSR. He was incredibly generous and gave myself and Hunter a couple of copies. We got a giveaway copy as well. If you do not follow LFOSR, that's the Twitter link right there. It's LF_OSR. You just Google LFOSR, buy their stuff. Leo is fucking awesome person who does just amazing things for zines, for the industry in general. And again, if you get any of their stuff, it's luxury. You know what I mean? Like it's
I have a few. I Yeah, I agree.
At,
Totally.
at solid prices too, though. It's not like you're spending an arm and a leg. Like it's luxury. It's a luxury good at, you know, I want to say budget price, but like not expensive and worth it. Like should probably charge more.
It's a labor of love, man.
Yeah. But yeah, their stuff is stunning. Alex, awesome. Really love this game. Excited for Across the Thousand Dead Worlds, and everything else that's going to come out. Super awesome person. Been super supportive of the stream. So both LFOSR and Alex, you guys are awesome. Jason, thank you for coming on the show. This was a fun one.
Of course, happy to be here.
Actually, in like an hour. I don't have time for that. Surprise, we're actually going to be running, I'm not going to be running, Micah Anderson is actually going to be running Troika, using their Hex Drive zines, for myself, Hunter, and Andy, Evil Andy, who was just on our Last Frontier Scum episode. So in just about an hour, we're going to be back again, which means I'm not sleeping today, to do that. And it'll be the first time I get to play Troika. So that'll be fun. And next week, to announce what's going on there, Friday morning, myself and Hunter are actually going to be interviewing Colin Lasore of Room Cairn and We Deal in Lead. And then we will be doing a We Deal in Lead review on, I guess there's no reason not to also do it on Friday. But I'll talk to Hunter about that. So that's what's going on next week. So yeah, again, thank you all for being here. This was a good one. Jason, I'll talk to you later. Again, right. Alex and Leo, you guys are great. I will talk to all of you guys later. Bye.
See you guys.